Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of No Excuses with your favourite show host, Fenurian.
And Volacel, and we're here to bring you the latest news and commentary on the video games industry for the week, although there's no Ari, and he did not tell us that there would be no Ari, so maybe he will pop in later in the show. We will have to bank on it. Probably somebody has given them the runaround at work again, or
Yeah,
the road is out, or something.
given
But,
Ari's track history, there's an even odds that something mundane or something really terrible has happened.
Yeah, it's like there'll be like a plague of opossums in Atlanta or something.
Yes, the kudzu has grown sentience.
But yeah, so we'll mush on regardless, and maybe he'll pop in later. And we will do our best to provide you with content, despite the fact that the week didn't provide us with content.
Yeah, it's been a lazy one.
Yeah, if you would like to get involved with the show, you can do so by sending us email at noexcusesvtw@gmail.com, or you can follow us on the Twitter at noexcusesvtw, or you can join us in our Discord chat server, where you can chat with us, the show hosts, in real time, and with any other listeners to the show who happen to be around. And you can most easily access that by clicking on the link which should be included in the YouTube videos for these streams, which is where I presume most people are listening to the show now, since we don't have a sound only solution just yet, because every time I think I found one, they want money.
Yeah, that's
and I do not
the way
want to
goes.
give them money. But in addition to YouTube, I have got most of the show backed up on BitChute now, and I haven't worked out if I've managed to figure out how to get them to upload there automatically after it's uploaded to YouTube. I've got like sort of a 30% hit rate on getting that to work so far. But yeah, I'm working on BitChute as a backup, because we could have our account deleted at any time. That's the way YouTube nowadays.
Yeah, there's sooner or later there's going to be a mass game of exodus from YouTube the way they're going. Like someone is going to cotton onto a better service, and everyone's going to jump ship.
Yeah, I would like for that to be the case, but I mean, like, people say that as far as gaming stuff is concerned, Twitch is better than YouTube, and Twitch is, a wretched hive of scum and villainy, and people are now saying that Mixer is better than Twitch, but nobody uses it.
Mixer started out strong, and then they kind of got, ruined.
Well, do they have thoughts there? Because I'm pretty sure that's what Twitch gets all their business from.
Yeah.
But yeah. The meat market is apparently where game streaming is going.
Yeah.
Gaming in inverted quotes.
It's
but anyway,
the thought audit was intended to stop, but it didn't.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's sort of constrained by United States law for the most part, that particular one. But the now suddenly infamous gamer girl bathwater woman, whatever her name was, I don't know what she goes by. I think she's located in the UK, so she, for instance, is not going to be affected by that.
Nope.
But yeah.
Not until there's another thought audit over there anyway.
I don't know. It depends on the local laws.
Yeah.
How all that stuff shakes down.
Anyway, so on the stream today, I'm going back to an old classic favourite. I'm playing a bit of Slime Rancher.
I keep meaning to try that game, and then I never do, because I told myself that if it ever dropped below $10, I'd pick it up and play it. But it always drops to $11.
Yeah, it does. And it always stops just short of that mark. Even during the big sale, it didn't quite get there.
Yeah, and I don't know why that is. Maybe they've just set a price floor. The developers maybe set a price floor for it, but
yeah.
I don't know. I think that there's probably, on the pricing curve, there's probably an increased uptake once you get to the single figure dollars.
I think there would be, yeah. As people just wait for it to drop under $10. There's people I know who exclusively shop from the $10 or less bucket on Steam.
Also, there's the psychological effect of it not costing double figure dollars.
Yeah, that's where that whole $9.99 annoyance comes from. It's people.
Yeah, well, I mean,
that effect.
If it was $9.99, I would have bought it.
See, but not $10.
No, not $10. The thing is, I don't feel like, to me, I don't feel it's worth more than $10, because the odds on, I would probably play it 2 or 3 times. Yeah, and it might be very intensive play those 2 or 3 times, but a game that I'm only going to boot up 2 or 3 times is not really worth that much to me. I'm willing to buy things that I indulge in at length new. I'm willing to pay that price, but
Mm-hmm.
for a game like that I know from the outset that there's a limited shelf life on it, like a really limited one, I can't justify spending more than $10 on it, really.
Yeah.
And this is for a person who buys quartz.
And Neptunia games.
Yeah, that's true. Neptunia games. I don't know
Yeah.
which is worth less.
Yeah. Quartz just costs stupid amounts. Neptunia just has so many games, it's ridiculous. They've got a collection on Steam, and it's something like $500 at its full price.
I bought the new one full price, well, at the launch discount. And I've had fun playing it, but I just haven't played as much of it as I would have liked because I keep getting distracted, usually by FGO.
Yeah.
They have got, I feel FGO's got their event pacing down perfect. Like, there are some people who are claiming it's too fast and some people are claiming it's too slow, but I think those populations seem to be roughly equal amounts, so I reckon they've got it about right. And as far as I'm affected by it, they've managed to sort of keep me completely occupied all the time.
Yep.
I very rarely hit a bot where I don't have something to do in FGO if I want to play FGO.
Yeah, it was definitely too fast when they first launched it because they were trying to catch the Western market up to the Japan a bit, but yeah, now
I think they tried to synchronize them and they were unsure about exactly how they would do it, so they moved things around. But I think it's more or less sorted at the moment. It's not like there are some other servers are legit trying to catch Japan, even if they started after North America.
Yes.
At this point, are way ahead of us. But yeah. I don't want that experience.
Don't want that. That's too much.
But I guess, like, you know, if you're in Korea or whatever, you're a lunatic gamer anyway, so you can probably get away with it.
Oh dear. All right, so
I think Korea is in their rerun for Summer 2.
Oh, I wouldn't mind getting Summer 1. I wanna throw some quartz around.
Anyway,
weeks. It's been a weird old week for me because it's kind of been the busy patch. My schedule now seems to alternate between busy patches and then the dead weeks, where I just don't do a whole lot. But we're up into the midst of drunk cowboy season, so yay!
Well, you're about to hit its peak in a couple of weeks.
Yep. I honestly don't know how these people can justify their behaviour. It's absolutely absurd.
Justify? What makes you think they're justifying it?
Well, they think it's acceptable.
Do they?
Yes.
Or do they just not care?
There's a good mix, I think. So, yeah. We'll be coming into that, so I'm probably going to be dead on my feet in a couple of weeks, and that's going to be fun.
It doesn't sound fun.
Yes. Sarcastic fun. Yeah, I'm not really sure what to say. We had one of the big events last night, and that kind of really made a mess. I started work this morning, actually, and driving around town, there's broken glass all over the place, and the odd corpse in the bushes.
Sounds
anyway,
lovely.
Let's not think about that. Let's think about something a bit happier, and I'm going to talk about something that is actually good.
What?
Yeah, I know, right?
You can't do that.
I know.
Just throw off everybody's expectations.
Positivity on this show? Never. So I've dusted off and played a little bit of Final Fantasy XIV with the new expansion that's out.
I'm envious.
Yes. So I wanted to just pick up and play my ninja right where I left it off. And then I kind of looked at it and thought, I have no idea what I'm doing anymore.
Well, ninja's not exactly a jump in and play class.
No, you've got to know what your various sign combinations are in order to get the most out of it, and when to do them, and all of that good stuff. So you keep your up times on your speed boost, and anyway. So new expansions launched. I haven't looked at the new expansion content because I'm way behind. So I dusted off Machinist. which was an absolute mess last time I played it.
Yeah, from all the time that I was playing the game, and I played for a lot longer than you, Machinist was never able to quite settle into a good place. They
Yeah,
moved it around a lot trying to find that good place, but it never quite found its niche.
yeah, that's right. It's kind of had this system where it was you manage your heat, then you manage your ammo, manage procs, and if everything lined up, you could do an idiotic amount of damage. If nothing lined up, you do squat.
Yeah, it
So
was pretty much a feast or famine class. But I mean, and it was also supposed to be sort of a bit supporty, and like it was. I think it was trying to serve too many masters a lot of the time.
yeah, it was never really clear exactly what way it was going to go. So what they've done now is they've just taken the whole system apart, stripped it right down to its bare core, and rebuilt it from there. And what you have now is a range DPS class with 1 meter you really need to keep your eye on, 2 if you really want to be specific about it, and that's it.
So are they straight up calling it a DPS class now?
Yes, it does have a bit of overlap with the Bard though. It's got a raid-wide DPS boost in the same vein as them, but for the most part, it is just range DPS.
So are they taking the same approach with the Bard, or are they keeping the Bard as sort of a semi-support?
Bard is staying more support. But
Right.
yeah, they've stripped down a lot of the classes and done a lot of reworks on everyone. In some cases, that just means consolidating abilities and removing abilities, or rather overwriting abilities, actually, that become redundant later on.
Hmm.
And doing things
Yeah,
like the Paladin now has everything on instant cast.
right. Yeah. And actually, I'm not fussed either way on that, because the things that the things that the Paladin would hard cast, I actually thought it felt pretty good using them.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like it added sort of like an extra flavor to the class, because a lot of those the things that you would hard cast would be like really powerful heals, or like a really powerful holy magic ranged attack sort of thing, like the things which remind you that you're a paladin, not just a sword and board dude.
Yep.
They were on cast time, so I was actually okay with that, but I don't mind them being put on instant either, because it makes the class flow more.
Yeah.
Actually stopping dead to hard cast your holy nukes at range, while it was an interesting and cool feeling, it was also a very weird feeling, because you had to stop playing the way you were previously.
Yep. And unlike being a range DPS class, if there was more odds of you actually being caught in some sort of blast zone. So you'd have to abort and move, or die.
It was sort of nice to have something that you could do which felt meaningful when you were stuck outside of your melee range for an extended period of time, and sort of having a hard cast time sort of filled that space. Hitting one button, having it go off, and then waiting, maybe not quite so great. But
Yeah.
but I don't know what other changes they've made.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't looked really into the lead up to this. What I'm most interested in is if they've done anything to balance off the monk and the dragoon against the samurai.
Not
Because
entirely sure.
my experience is that the samurai was a class that was sort of, it was built right from the ground up.
Yep.
Like everything worked, everything clicked together, everything made sense. It was easy to play, it looked stylish, and it had a internal logic that made sense. It was easy to pick up, but you still had headroom to master.
Yes.
Unfortunately, the monk and the dragoon are classes that had been on the workbench trying to get into the right place since 1.0. So yeah, they're not quite so like, I really love the dragoon. Like its aesthetics and its lore run a lot deeper than the spear guy.
Yes.
But it was a bit of a dog to use at times, and you still would get outdone by a samurai, both on utility and on damage a lot of the time. You had the highest damage ceiling in the game, apart from possibly the monk.
Mm-hmm.
But actually climbing to that ceiling was an ordeal. I don't think I was ever even able to hit it on a target dummy because it was so complicated. But
Yeah. From what I
yeah,
can tell, without having actually played it, they do seem to have addressed one of the big issues with the Dragoon, which is animation lock.
Animation lock did cause some issues, especially if you've got a bit of latency and your client doesn't quite realize that you've gone into animation lock, or your client does realize but the server doesn't and accepts 2 commands, and you get returned sort of like 1.5 responses or something. Like, there are a lot of janky things could happen.
There's there's the old meme of Dragoon always being face down on the ground during a boss fight, and that's why.
Well, it's not really about that. I think that the Dragoon, because the Dragoon was so complicated, it encouraged tunnel vision.
It did.
Like, because I think you had like a couple of seconds grand total latitude per like 49 seconds or something where you could move, but you couldn't move the rest of the time. Like, that's why I said even on a target dummy, I could rarely ever hit the damage ceiling because it was just so difficult to keep all your ducks in a row. And the thing is, I wouldn't want to see them simplify it per se. Just I think it's okay being as complex as it is. I like the idea of the complexity being rewarded, but I would like the reward to be lifted proportional to the peak complexity, and I would like the latitude for making a mistake to be broadened a little bit, so that if you dodge out of the way of an attack and take like the slightly longer route around the new obstacle back to the boss, you don't immediately then drop back down to the I've just started the fight but I have no cooldowns level of damage.
Yes. So yeah, they looks like they've gone out and at least attempted to kind of file off those sorts of rough corners. Haven't really tried the monk yet. I think they've just consolidated a few abilities in there, by what I can tell, and actually given Mug a purpose later on, rather than just being a dead button that didn't do a whole lot. Summoner now has a second persona form, I guess you can call it. So you kind of looks like you alternate between Bahamut and Phoenix.
Right.
Let me see what else. A lot of characters and a lot of classes have brand new animations, so it all looks really pretty and shiny and ridiculously flashy. I mean, only the way
Final Fantasy would be a shame not to, really.
Yeah. So yeah, it's been all right. I've slowly been kind of getting the hang of the game and going back through some of the early level dungeons to get my feet back in. One big complaint though. Way too many damn Viera.
Well, I mean, that was going to happen though, right?
Yep.
When the Aura came out, everybody was playing Aura.
Yeah. I did have a spare Fantasia laying around from, I don't know, the loyalty event or something. So I'm now a giant lion man who looks like he escaped from the 90s.
And you're going to feature in your own Saturday morning cartoon?
Damn right. I put a little costume for it and everything. So, which brings me to the new glamour system. So the old system's still there. You can still use glamour prisms to apply appearances to your items. For
a game with such cool looking items, I really did get annoyed at how obtuse the glamour system was.
Yeah, there is a new and equally obtuse system to go along with it now.
Oh, great. That's what we needed.
What you can do is you can turn your glamour prisms in for generic ones now, and in your hotel rooms there is it's the glamour closet or something like that next to the armoire. If you find a piece of gear you like that does not go in the armoire, you can spend a glamour prism to bank its appearance in the closet, the glamour closet thingy. From there you can put together a glamour palette, which is basically a preset appearance, which you can then switch between the at any time, provided you're in a safe zone. That means the cities, really. So you can actually save predefined appearances now.
I see.
So yeah, that I know it sounds annoyingly.
Do you
fiddly.
still need to fuel it by having all of the specific crafting types of prisms available?
No. Once they're banked, it's there.
Oh, good. Well, that's something at least.
That's the good part. The bad part is you can only bank about 250 items altogether. Not
They had
counting-
better not say it's because of memory constraints on the console, because I'm getting sick of hearing that.
Yeah, it's kind of the running excuse. So I know there's a lot of items, particularly the early game gear, you just don't want because it's ugly as sin and looks really dumb.
So, have they done any work on the retainers?
Not that I can tell. The retainers seem to be pretty
Ah.
much the same.
They're another thing that I felt was janky.
Yeah. So
At
yeah,
least it's not like it used to be where you couldn't actually access your retainers if you'd sent them on a mission or whatever.
yeah, you can at least call them back now. It's like, no, you can't access your bank, and you can't change your auctions. I'm
I
busy.
don't know whose idea that was. I'm not surprised it didn't last very long.
So yeah, enjoying myself so far. Fortunately, because I'm playing a machinist, I have the world's most boring animations because, yeah, when you start off your combo, it's just bang and then bang and then bang bang, and that's it. That's your combo.
See, this is
Your
what I
character
mean
just
about
stands there.
like the samurai getting the best of every world. Like if you hit a button on the samurai, it's like particle effects and cherry blossom petals and that just fly everywhere. Like every
Yeah.
time you hit a button.
Well, thankfully, later on, one of the mechanics they did is you've just got hot shots, or your heated versions of shots are part of your combo now. They're just a permanent upgrade. So you get all the flashy animations and everything to go with it later on. So you get, thunder drones and flying bullets and all sorts of other goodness as part of your base combo later. But not starting off. Starting off is probably one of the most visually boring classes.
Well, I mean, it's like that for a lot of classes. I mean, I'm here to tell you that playing a monk at low levels is not exactly flashy.
No, it's punch.
Especially
punch, punch,
considering
punch, punch.
how much crazy juking about you have to do to get in position for each of those abilities.
Yeah. Oh dear. I wish I could actually talk about the new content and the path of the Warrior of Darkness and all of that, but I'm still in the Heavenswood, so I got to catch up to that. But I have been semi-pleasantly reminded about some kind of the variety of quests you get in this in Final Fantasy XIV. Only semi-pleasantly, because when I first logged into the game, I'd logged off at Camp Bronze Lake.
Yeah.
So the
And the
first
hot
thing I
corner.
encountered when I logged back in was the bathing dance. This is the sort of thing you set your eyes on fire for. Just no. No bathing dances, please.
Yeah, I would like to get back into it. I just don't have the time for any MMO.
Yeah.
Requires too much time. And even though I understand that you're not obliged to sit down and play for hours when you fire up an MMO, the fact is that my psychology does oblige me to. That's
Yeah.
really the problem.
Especially considering Final Fantasy, once you get back into the story is very good. It is very engaging. Apparently, Stormblood ended on a real high note.
Oh, really? I sort of just completed the base story when I stopped playing, and it was great. Like from every perspective, mechanically and storyline wise, like I felt it overplayed a few things, but I don't think that people are really quite as fond of what's her name, the blonde girl.
Minfilia?
No, not the one who's keeps disappearing and calling you on the link shell. I mean the monk.
Oh, yeah, her.
Yeah, I don't think people are quite as fond of her as the story sort of requires you to be. But the the big fights at the end and all that were all very climactic and so on. Like it felt like they had a really good idea of how they wanted to construct the stories and how they wanted to reflect that with the gameplay in a way much better than any other MMO that I ever played and did. But I don't know where the story went after that, and oftentimes it can go, out 90 degrees away from where you thought it would after the base campaign. Like the Warriors of Darkness that appear toward the end of the Heavensward campaign is like, what
what are you here?
Where did you guys come from?
Who are you people?
It's like, we're here to set up for the next expansion, I guess.
We're a plot hook.
Well, not even the next expansion, like the expansion after the next expansion. Like,
okay, so we're foreshadowing.
We're foreshadowing, but
Sadly.
yeah, it's I really like the way that they present their story by and large, and that's why it's sort of, while I don't experience the same sort of like crackhead cravings for it the way I do for World of Warcraft. I think that's actually because World of Warcraft is a more toxic game, not actually because it's better.
Yeah,
but
I was actually refreshingly surprised when I logged in. The community seems to be really good at the moment.
It's because everybody's sharing in the gacha salt at the moment.
Yeah,
but,
I logged in one day and everyone was complaining about what they pulled out of the summer event gacha from FGO.
But yeah, I think of internally. I think of Final Fantasy XIV as my favorite MMO, because to me it represents all of the best parts of MMO, of the classic theme park style MMO, all reflected in that game. I feel, and they've got their writing just blows everybody else's writing out of the water, which I think makes all the difference.
And they don't make content redundant.
The only reason that can justify using the theme park model as heavily as the WoW style MMO does is if you're going to use it as a vehicle to tell good story. Blizzard very rarely uses it as a vehicle to tell good story.
First
they use it as a vehicle to just tell you what to do.
Yeah,
that's the thing. Like if you've played World of Warcraft, then you know that the Darkmoon Fair is a ghost town. Nobody goes to the Darkmoon Fair. The Gold Saucer is always jumping.
Yeah, that's
the difference everywhere. That's the difference between those two games in a nutshell. Like the World of Warcraft model does not want you off the rails. The Final Fantasy XIV model decides to present a theme park by literally constructing a theme park inside it.
Yes.
So that you can go there if you want and do things.
Yes.
And the things like in virtually, other than winning the lottery, everything in the Gold Saucer is worthless, but everybody still wants to go and do it because it feels like the world. It doesn't feel like something tacked on.
Yeah.
So
the mini games they put in there are genuinely fun and engaging.
I've spent an unhealthy amount of time being angry at the Triple Triad.
That is perfectly understandable. That's what it's there for. But like, you go to the Darkmoon Fair, and what do you got? A kind of a half janky whack-a-mole game, and the flying mini game, which can be a bit janky. Nothing really works properly. There's no one there.
They're both attempts to do the exact same thing. One of them is successful and one of them is not. In World of Warcraft, the Darkmoon Fair does not fit with anything. There is no reason to go there. If you go there, you will not have fun. You will not see anybody else there. The games don't work most of the time properly. Like it's just it's a thing that is there to be there. Despite the Gold Saucer being the exact same thing, it works because you can. Like the amount of love they put into designing that place and making it feel like a real place just drips off the entire zone. The entire place is lavish and gilt, literally.
It is Hildebrand.
With a giant gold statue of Godbit in his underwear.
Yeah, we could do without that.
I think it adds flavor.
It does.
You can see the sort of person who thought it was a good idea to build this thing.
And that's the other big thing is, okay, WoW has its silly quests, but a lot of them involve either poo or puns. Whereas Final Fantasy XIV is, okay, you want to break from the main story? Here's Hildebrand.
Yeah, it all comes down to, I think, the love of the game. I think that the people who create Final Fantasy 14 love it more than the people who create WoW do.
That and Yoshida
I
is a
think
massive troll.
I think that there's way more cohesion in the team that are putting Final Fantasy 14 together. Like I feel like they all aim at the same target.
Mm-hmm.
They've got good leadership and they've got good communication internally.
I think they initially
Whereas in World of
tried
Warcraft,
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
go on. In World of Warcraft, I don't think that's true at all. I don't think that there's any unified vision. I think there are people in there that love the game, but they're all developing different parts of it and they're expressing that love in different ways with no unifying vision.
Yeah.
So you end up with people working at cross purposes to each other, and the world doesn't fit together like a single world. It just looks like a whole bunch of different things all stuck to each other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think Square Enix originally tried kind of that whole segmented model the way that WoW is currently running, and that's got you pre-Calamity Eorzea. Nobody wants that. I'm actually glad I managed to forget about it for a while.
I think that there's a lot of bad press around like heavy-handed top-down management, and oftentimes for good reason. But sometimes you do need a captain for a ship.
Yes.
If you want everybody working towards the same destination, you need a captain for the ship. Somebody who has the vision of where you need to go and is willing to get you there. And will crack the whip if necessary, will motivate people where necessary. Like that, I think that you need that. And the only whip that ever gets cracked at Blizz Activision is, are you making us enough money in DLC and in shop sales and that kind of thing? That's the only whip being cracked there is the revenue.
See, and the worrying thing is, I actually caught myself the other day thinking I wouldn't mind paying out a little bit of extra money to get that really cool motorbike mount for Final Fantasy 14. And I've never considered that for WoW, even though there are a couple of really cool mounts in there.
I don't think that there are really cool mounts in WoW.
Yeah, cool-ish. But
I don't think, like, by comparison to there are very few mounts, relatively speaking, in Final Fantasy 14, but I think that all of them are cooler than their WoW equivalent.
Yes.
And it's not close.
It's not close. I mean, I can ride around in a palanquin controlled by flying explosives.
Yep, I've got that one.
Yep, or the Fat Moogle. Or Fat Chocobo.
I think there's a Fat Moogle as well.
There is a Fat Moogle. There's a Fat Moogle for a flying version of it. I think Fat Chocobo can actually fly now. Somehow.
How?
I have no idea.
I guess it doesn't make any less sense than the regular Chocobo being able to fly.
True. So, yeah, you just get a whole different feel from playing Final Fantasy 14 as opposed to playing WoW. And the fact that you can still go back and actually experience the old content as it was, or at least in a close enough approximation, is really good.
When I think about going back and playing World of Warcraft, I think about it in the sense of, oh well, I need to go back and get my fix. when I think about playing Final Fantasy 14, it's like, I really want to know what happened to those characters in the next part of the story.
Yep.
People
used to care about WoW's characters.
Well, they keep doing weird things with them. I think that they really are trying to move back into a realm where people care about the characters more. Like, that's the main reason I think that they brought Thrall back.
It's because they realized,
yeah, like, people do care about Cao Fang. They do.
Yes.
But the reason they care about Cao Fang is that the players created Cao Fang.
Yes.
Pre-meme, there was no Cao Fang. Nobody cared about who he was.
He was just a nameless, faceless NPC.
But I think that he's an exception to the rule. People cared about Thrall because they spent so long with him. They care about Sylvanas because they spent so long with him. Like, there's a lot of these characters. There's a reason that Lor'themar is a meme.
Yep.
It's because Lor'themar was put in there to be a character because Blizz said so.
Yes. Whereas everyone else has been built up through the story up until that point.
It's the same reason everybody's outraged at Ken's death. because they killed Ken for drama and replaced him with Bane, who nobody knows.
Yes.
And so they've devoted a massive chunk of the current expansion trying to give Bane a personality with limited success.
Well, Bane's only real lore up until that point was a side quest in a little side bit of Final Fantasy 14. In Warcraft 3, where with Rexar's whole bit, and he was a snot-nosed brat. He wandered off and gotten himself killed, or not killed, gotten himself captured by Kodos or something.
What?
Yeah.
How dumb do you need to be to get captured by Kodos?
Doesn't speak well of him, though.
Not at all.
So, yeah, that was his entirety of Bane's lore prior to him becoming leader of the Tauren. It basically sums up to he exists.
Yeah, and I've voiced on numerous occasions my feelings about what they've done to Sylvanas' character, making her a trivial throwaway villain as far as anybody can tell. It need not be this way. It might not be this way. We don't know.
Probably
we don't know where we're going with that one. Yeah, I want to believe that it won't be, but that's the same want to believe that wants to believe that if I went back to WoW, I would enjoy myself playing it.
Yeah.
But I know that that's not true. At least, I will enjoy myself for 5 minutes. But it's not... In WoW, I don't feel like I'm building a legacy the way I did in Classic and the way I do in Final Fantasy XIV. Like, everything that I do accrues to my character in Final Fantasy XIV.
Mm-hmm.
In WoW Classic, everything that I did accrued to my character because I didn't have alts. Like, building alts is a tricky proposition in Classic because you've got to bend so much time toward it. And when I left World of Warcraft, my feeling was that everything that I did was just finding the next good way to game the system to give me an advantage, even if that means that I'm maintaining, I'm doing dailies on 6 max level characters every day or whatever.
Yep.
Like that's soul destroying stuff, and it's purely about gaming. It's purely about the game. It's not about the world or the story or the character or the accrual of stuff even other than just gold. Like there's no projects to work on that don't involve exploiting the fact that you've got 5 alts or whatever. Like it's not like, oh well, I've reached a new multiple of 10 level now. There's a class quest that's going to require me traveling all across Azeroth or whatever.
Yeah.
There's no, oh, I've reached a milestone. I'm going to go back to my job class trainer and he's going to give me the next part of the story about this job class or whatever. There's no sense of personal progression at all in World of Warcraft anymore because you're just operating the levers of a system.
Yeah, it didn't always be that way. Like Classic, you had to have your class story and things like that. But ultimately...
yeah, and it also worked for what it was, though, right? Like the thing is, there's a big philosophical difference between the way your character is in World of Warcraft and the way it is in Final Fantasy XIV. In Final Fantasy XIV, you are the warrior of light, except when you're not.
Except when you're not.
And in World of Warcraft, you start off as new recruit to the cause, pretty much, and you remain in that track without becoming a hero per se. Like, even if people call you hero, it's just a relative term because by and large, you're just like one of the warriors or one of the warlocks or one of the mages or whatever.
It doesn't help, so you have to... that because of the way the expansions and the story is kind of built up over the years, you kind of fall in and out of plot holes.
Yeah, but that's the thing, right? They weren't able to stick to their guns on that. Like, if you are one of the warlocks in Classic, you get inducted into this unbelievably shady side of society where everything is about, oh, well, who can I con into teaching me how to con a demon into serving me this time? And so everything is about sort of, you're moving through the bowels of this parallel society.
Yeah. Yeah, Shaman, it's get out there, explore the world, attune to the spirits.
And the reason why you can structure it that way is because you're not the warrior of light, so you can go incognito.
Yes.
However, the way you've got this ultra curated, heavily directed story events with you at the center means you're not incognito anymore. You're the great hero.
Mm-hmm.
Except that you're also supposed to be meaningless face among the crowd, and you can't really do both at the same time.
As much as they try to.
So they can't like say, oh, well, you're the hero, you're at the center of events. Also, you are just a random face in the Sourfang Rebellion who happens to be the snitch reporting to Sylvanas. Like,
Yeah.
you actually can't do that because everybody knows who you are some of the time,
Well,
and then
Sylvanas
the rest
calls
of
you
the time
by
they don't.
yes, and in previous quests, Sylvanas had called you by name called you the hero and things like that before, and then suddenly she's not acknowledging you anymore, like you're just some sort of random schlub.
Yeah, and that just plays into that feeling of you're just operating the systems and your characters are just levers to pull.
Mm.
Like, you pull this lever, you operate that part of the system. You don't have any of that in WoW Classic because you invest yourself in progressing this one character. You don't have it in Fantasy 14, in my opinion, because you are a character who acquires skills through time.
Yes.
Every new class that you play is, your characters have decided to diversify their skill set and are taking on this new combat philosophy and learning about it the way you would from the ground up and progressing through the sort of parts of the culture surrounding that particular way of fighting or way of crafting or general
Yes.
way of being. Like that, all of that is cumulative. Nothing in World of Warcraft is cumulative anymore.
Well, that's the
except
other big
gold.
yeah, except gold. No, not even that, because there's gold sinks. But
Well, they
yeah.
don't want you to accumulate gold. That's the thing. Nothing is cumulative except gold, and they don't want you to accumulate that because it would be bad for the economy.
Exactly. So there's also the big looming bugbear of WoW, where you know that once the next expansion hits, all of that progress you've made on your character will be moot.
Poof.
Gone. So, unlike Final Fantasy 14, new expansion comes, your character will get stronger. If you're in a professional, you'll get smarter, you'll learn new skills. Unless you're a tailor, in which case you just become more fabulous.
I've never really felt like I got kicked too hard in the nuts by a change in expansion. Like, I did have some rough patches on some of my job classes when I transitioned from Heavensward to pardon me, to Stormblood, but that was easily resolved by going to a vendor and buying the things that I had gaps in my loadout. Like, your gear curve, in my experience, your gear curve in Final Fantasy 14 is very gentle throughout most of the progression up until you hit the cap, and then you start looking at end game progression.
Yes.
It's not like it's almost. It's a lot more. It's a lot less steep than I think it's linear for both World of Warcraft and for Final Fantasy 14, but it's a lot less steep linear for Final Fantasy 14.
Never really had to do a big number crunch. As you progress through the game, your own gear improves only in very small increments. The numbers do not get out of hand.
Yeah, and they funnel an abundance of gear at your general direction. If you are trying to just maintain one job class through the story, which is what most people do, I think. I'm not really sure. I don't have data on that. Then you will get an abundance of gear to fuel that.
Yeah, there's certain points through the story, through the class stories rather, where it's okay. You need a new outfit. Here's this quest and a small silly side story to go with it.
Yeah, and while World of Warcraft does the same thing, on paper, it doesn't seem to work that well in practice. I think it's because they seem to be a little bit confused about what constitutes giving you options.
Well, WoW's approach to that is okay. You need gear. Go and do these soul crushing dailies to maybe get an upgrade out of this random loot box because everyone loves those.
I don't know. Anyway, I'm envious that you've managed to find time to try that out, and I think I will. I think I will go back to it to play. The final maybe I'll go back in once you get to the end of Stormblood and
Yep.
join you for the sprint between Stormblood and Shadowbringers, because that's where I'm sort of up to.
Sure. Yeah.
Until then, I don't really want to play it by myself. I need the value add of playing with somebody else at this point.
Yeah, and that always makes things better. I think my current story mode is on hold at the moment. I'm up to what's his name? The big bug boss with the absurdly
Ravana?
pompous song, Ravana. Yes.
Yeah, it's a cool fight too. Like it's perfect the basics style of fight.
Yep.
It looks like the sort of fight that I would expect to see in, say, Hollow Knight, just in a different perspective.
Not quite so punishing.
You've got a crazy bug man with a bunch of weapons, and he invalidates your ability to stand in certain areas of the room constantly, and you have to constantly move about in order to stay out of those areas, because it'd be really bad if you got caught in them.
He makes black mages cry.
He does. Don't expect to stand still and nuke.
Yes.
But that's the thing, even just hearing you say that makes me want to play again, because I could work on my black mage. That way I can just shout explosion at things. And they'll explode.
Yeah, they've gotten a bit ridiculous now. There's just more explosions piled upon more explosions now.
There is no upper limit to the art of explosion.
There is not.
If
you have discovered it, you are not exploding hard enough.
Yeah, I really do want to play it again. I think that there's a better than even chance that I'll clear my current occupations in games, which are revolving chiefly around Neptunia right now, and then I will basically make Final Fantasy and Monster Hunter the only games that I play for a few months.
Oh yeah, I'm fully expecting to drop off the Final Fantasy radar completely once the Monster Hunter expansion releases. But we'll talk about that more later. Anyway, your week, sir. I know we're running a bit off schedule, but yeah, carry on.
My week was not really much more interesting than your week for the most part, I don't think.
Okay.
So yeah, I had more or less a normal working week, but I didn't have much time that I spent on things other than, well, basically because they had a half AP on dailies week on FGO, I felt the compulsive need to grind and whiled away a lot of evenings doing that, and having awful luck with my drops, and therefore not making any progress in aggregate.
Yeah.
But the rerun has started on the whatchamacallit. The rerun has started on the summer event, and they've lifted the restriction on, in order to speed it up, basically, they've lifted the restriction on which servants provide bonuses. Because in the first time around, the only servants that provided bonus resources were ones that were featured in the story.
Yeah.
And that constrained me to some interesting group arrangements.
Yes.
And things like using servants like Dermot unironically.
Could you?
Because he gave a lumber bonus. That's why. But this time round, they've just divvied up the classes. So every class in the game just gives a bonus material of some kind.
Yeah.
And you can just look up a chart and it'll tell you. And plus, I've got a handful of CEs still floating around from last time. So I'm making much better progress this time than I was last time. In terms of how far through the story I am. I think I'm at like stage 10 or 11 or something in the construction.
Because the game hates me.
So yeah, it's quick progress. I'm hoping that I can just burn through it really quickly, because I don't actually. Well, the only thing I'm in it for this time is to try and get all of the scenes that I didn't get last time, to record them in my character archive.
You maxed out Welfare Scatic last time, didn't you?
Yes, I did. So I don't really care about any of that stuff. It'll be a while before you can actually, because in Japan you can burn those additional welfare servants for rare prisms, but you can't in the West. And even in Japan, if you had saved them until the change was made, they still wouldn't turn into rare prisms when you burned them. So,
Huh.
yeah. There's no point in me going out of my way to get additional copies of Skaha. But I basically want to just get all of the scenes because some of them are quite funny.
Some of them are completely ridiculous, and
Most of them are completely ridiculous.
Anything involving Kiyohime gets somewhat creepy.
Yeah, there are some really creepy scenes.
I'm going to haunt you forever.
There's one where you sacrifice Fu
Oh my!
in order to get away from her.
Poor Fu.
Like I think it's something like you construct your second home, the big manor house version, because you start off with the shack, right?
Yes.
Early in the event, but later on you build a manor, and the manor built in the style Kiyohime suggests she basically uses as an attempt to try and seduce you into bed, and you basically stuff Fu in the bed really. And then run for it.
Actually, I think I did hit that scene last time, yes.
It's very unclear whether or not she notices. Poor Fu.
Poor Fu. Leave her with a crazy snack lady.
But yeah, I will be rolling on said crazy snack lady again when her high rate up banner comes up, which is I think on the 22nd or 20th or something. Try and get Noble Phantasm 3. I would like to get Noble Phantasm 3 at least on Martha as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll probably start just banking the quartz if I can manage both of those. So I hope I can. That would be nice. I've got a good chunk of quartz saved up. I've got like 480 or something. And 30 odd tickets. So if the odds were in my favor, then things would be looking good. The odds are very rarely in my favor. Unlike Ari, who, just pulled 3 5 stars the other day, like whatevs.
I'm going to save up my quartz. I might spin a pull 10 pull on Ruler Martha, but yeah, I'm going to save it for the new summer event whenever it's going to happen.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? It's basically this banner is bait.
Yeah, it's a trap.
It's bait to try and bleed you of your quartz so that you don't have it available for the next one. But so the next event will have Welfare Ishtar as well.
Oh yes, it will too. Isn't a lot of the currently available banner servants available for on the next banner as well?
No.
Okay.
There are two separate banners for the summer rerun, the same as it was in the original run. The first banner is the first half of the servants, and the second banner is the second half of the servants. They're just in 2 different sets.
Okay.
So you can't get Tamamo on the next set of banners, for instance.
Right.
It's restricted to the other one. So Ruler Martha is over there, and and Caster Marie and the other ones I can't remember offhand. But it's a similar construction.
Yeah.
To the original one, but yeah. Yeah, the second summer event, it looks like it must be at least as ridiculous,
if not
as
more
the
so.
first one, if not more so. Yeah. But I'm so ambivalent about the next summer event's servants that I'm not really sure what I would even roll, what banner I'd even roll on, because it's split into 2 banners again. Because like usual, there's 7 servants. But the only servant I want from the second banner is the 5-star, so I would have to go hardcore on that if I wanted to get her, and that's just because I think she's got a cool outfit in her stage 3. The Artoria Pendragon Rider altar.
That's a mouthful.
Yeah, the first stage is her swimsuit with the inflatable Excalibur. The second stage is her maid outfit with the mop. The third stage is her with the with Excalibur Morgan and with her short sword transformed into a Dragunov, wearing the evening dress that she wears in Shinjuku. But that would require me to roll on a banner that has either Helena Archer and or Raiko Lancer. Now, Raiko Lancer is an incredible servant from a mechanics perspective, but is also Raiko. in a bikini,
Yeah.
which I think is just like her proportions just make it look creepy to me.
Yeah, that would be too much.
She's a monstrously powerful Lancer, Buster Lancer. I would
Busty
say she's
Lancer.
probably. Fern, why you do this?
I know. The
Why you do
obvious
this?
pun was there.
But she's monstrously powerful. She's more powerful than Kiyohime Lancer is. But I've got Kiyohime Lancer, and my Kiyohime Lancer is growled to 90 and at max skills, so I just don't need Raikou Lancer at all. This is absolutely no use to me. And Helena Archer is just notoriously bad, just not a good servant at all. Like on the opposite end of the spectrum, like you can argue quite reasonably that as far as damage beat stick Buster Lancers go, 4-star Raikou Lancer is better than any of the 5-star equivalents, but Helena's not better than anybody. Helena's just for people who are lolicons, I guess. That's pretty much it. She has the most ridiculous, what I presume is a water gun ever conceived of.
You only
However, I haven't looked at her animations, but it looks like she's wielding a Gundam as a weapon. Let's just say that.
It's still not the silliest weapon in the franchise.
Yeah, it's not. That's really troubling. But yeah, I'm not at all interested in getting her as a servant. So yeah, that would mean that I'm rolling on a banner just for the 5-star, which is something that never works out well for me.
No, that'll
No, it
only
does
end in
not.
tears.
It'll only end. On the first banner, there's more that I'm interested in, because I would be quite happy to get Nobu Berserker, because Nobu Berserker is just a really good DPS Berserker, just straight up when it comes to Buster meming people. She's one of the best there is.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't need her per se. By contrast, Frankenstein Saber is also a very, very good servant, but I need him. I do kind of have a reason to suppose that I need her on account of I don't have a single target Saber that's not, Brave Liz, meme tier, or Rama, and Rama's really not good except against niche enemies, in his case demonic, or when he's backed by Merlin specifically, because he's number one, he's a crit buster monster, and number two, he's good against demons. Outside of that archetype, he's pretty bad, all told. That's not even true. I guess outside of that context, he's so average that he's unremarkable, and you wish you could take somebody who could do something cool. That would be more accurate to say that. But yeah, so it would take getting Summer Fran would also be good, but like Nobu, like I don't need or want her really. And Assassin Nitocris, like Ari wants her because he thinks she's funny, and Nitocris is an incredibly adorable character who I'm very fond of. But as a character, as a servant, really bad in this case. And I don't really want Castanero either, because while she's very good,
she's also Nero.
She's also, well, it's not that she's Nero, it's that she's just just a DPS caster really, and I've got Ilya.
Yeah.
Most of the DPS casters are sort of like roughly equivalent to each other, more or less. And while Nero's AoE rather than single target like Ilya, like I don't really care to go out of my way to get a farming servant at 5-star level like that, especially not in a niche like that. And I have an NP level 2 nursery rhyme anyway who serves the purposes. Adding Buster on top of that's not really that interesting to me. So all in all, the upcoming banners are ones that I can dispense with in favor of going absolutely ham on trying to get more copies of Kiyohime and Martha. So that's probably the thing I will opt for. I probably will roll on their banners a bit if I somehow still have an abundance of quartz when the next set come when the next summer event comes around, simply because, well, I might get a core servant, and in addition to that, I'll get some CEs probably for the event, because events can be rough when you've got none. I've done quite a lot of events with no CEs.
Yeah.
It's brutal. But yeah. So anyway, and most of the gaps in my schedule were filled by playing, a couple of levels of a couple of battles on FGO to grind off my AP before I had to go back to work, sort of thing. Like, oh, it's lunch break, I better make sure my AP doesn't cap, type of thing. So the new anime season has begun. I haven't watched a lot of different things yet. A lot of the things have only started this week as well, and I haven't had time to watch them. So as far as the new ones that I've had a chance to really sit down and watch from the episode ones of first episodes, say, the one which of course I'm going to like regardless of how bad it is the Lord Elmaloy II case file,
because it's fake.
and yeah, because it's Fate, but it's also great. Like,
Good.
the pilot was incredible, and the first episode was also cool. The first episode is basically a flashback thing, taking place it looks very shortly after Waver has returned from the Fourth Holy Grail War. Like, it's sort of following on. It's not too long after that. Like, he's clearly a little bit older than he was there, and the flashback is to immediately after, when he's trying to basically work out what to do with himself, because it's a good reminder that through it all, really, Waver's still a Magus more than he's a normal person, even though he's first gen.
Yep.
So he's very caught up in his responsibilities to his teacher, being Cainith. Like, he did not like Cainith. He hated Cainith, in fact. But his actions resulted in Cainith's death, and he has Cainith to thank for everything that he knew about Magecraft, pretty much. Because say what you like about his personality, Cainith was an incredible, stuck-up Magus, and a very good teacher as far as the teachers of Magi go. And so Waver feels a great debt to him, even though he hated his guts. So basically, the story of the first episode centers around the very, very young Rhinus Archisorte, who has basically had him captured and hung upside down from the ceiling, so that she can interrogate him on why he seems to be working so hard to keep Cainith's legacy from dying while the family falls apart, having lost its head.
Mm-hmm.
And so basically the episode consists of Waver recounting what he did and how he sort of, basically it seems like he did a bit of traveling and investigated a bunch of stuff, and basically ended up deciding that what he needed to do was borrow a bunch of money so that he could buy out the assets of the Cainith class and then set it up as his own class. But Rhinus is basically so entranced by this, the simultaneous sort of it's admirable, but it's also completely retarded sort of nature, that she decides, okay, so I'm going to humor you with all of this, and I'm going to make you my elder brother, who is going to occupy my seat as the Clock Tower Lord until I'm old enough to do it. So he gets forcibly drafted into the Elmaloy family to become Lord Elmaloy II.
That's how that happens.
Yeah. Rhinus is absolutely adorable, and the single smuggest individual on the planet.
Yeah. It's a lot of smug.
There's a lot. She's seeing that incredibly sort of smug, sly look on such an adorable face is very disconcerting. But she is a Magus through and through, a purebred, as it were, unlike a lot of the others. So it's sort of like it's fitting for her. But she became very, very popular very quickly for being the most adorable, unbelievably smug creature ever to grace the small screen. So yeah. Obviously I'm going to continue watching that one. But it seems to be good, but of course we're not in the main story arcs yet. And I don't know where the story will pick up, whether it will pick up where it left off, or whether it will jump ahead in time to, quote, present day, unquote, where he's, an established clock tower lord. But either way, I'm going to keep watching it. So the other two ones I watched are, one of them is not strictly an isekai, but you can barely tell.
Okay.
It's just a straight up fantasy, but it has all of the exact same trappings of isekai. But basically, these two series are expansions on my theory about the genre aging with the audience, in that where this has progressed from, because originally we had, the harem style thing where the lead was a high school kid surrounded by girls, and then it moved on to a college kid surrounded by girls, and then a salaryman surrounded by girls.
There it is.
This particular scenario, it looks like there's still going to be an abundance of female characters in the both of these series, probably, but the direction has sort of taken a bit of a 45-degree turn, and in both cases it involves the lead male basically picking up an abandoned child of one kind or another and then doting on them relentlessly. So the thing which really caught me unawares was it was unbelievably wholesome. Like they have taken absolute pains to make it clear that this is set up so that an adorable little girl can be the second main character to the author insert character, while leaving absolutely no material for lolicons whatsoever.
Right.
Except for ones that have a very good imagination. Like, everything is incredibly clean. Like, I expected, like, everything in them is the same sort of thing that you would see in another show that you would expect to be a setup for something uncomfortable and skeevy. Except it never becomes uncomfortable and skeevy.
Huh. So it's definitely not an isekai then, really.
Like, in both first episodes, the little girl in question, who's usually, been rescued from the wilds in some way or other, like, they have their first bath in a long time or whatever. But this is absolutely not used as an opportunity for anything. It's just, oh, well, they just got thrown unwillingly in the bath or went willingly into the bath while the main character goes off to do something else because he shouldn't be looking at that.
Yeah, usually a lot of anime, particularly in isekais, this is a time to do something weird and skeevy.
Yeah, so they're totally. It's been so far. The 2 episodes of each that I've watched have been totally and utterly chased in every way. Like, somebody who had a skeevy lolicon frame of mind would have been incredibly disappointed.
I see no downside to that.
Yeah, I found them both very sort of sweet and enjoyable, if a bit vapid, because historically shows about a parental figure doting on their new child figure tend to be vapid, but it's still relatively enjoyable. Neither of them are particularly good, I'll say that, but the fact that they're particularly clean impressed me because I was expecting the worst and I didn't have to see the worst. So
that's always a good thing.
So yeah, I did not expect that, but it seems like both series seem to just sort of like uniformly matured in the direction away from being skeevy. Like the 2 series that I refer to are, well, they're referred to as Mao-sama Retry and Uchi Musume, which is short for something much, much longer. You know how light novels are. In like I saw another case of it in the second episode of Mao-sama Retry, where the main character is, of course, he's a computer programmer who basically he ran an MMO and he shut it down, but on the day he shut it down, he got sucked into the game as the sort of like business suit clad demon lord who rules the bad guys sort of thing. Sort of Overlord style, except not, because he doesn't have a base or anything. He's just basically an admin avatar of sorts, except that he's, he has to obey the rules, the internal rule set or whatever, and so on and so forth. So basically he's a powerful character in the universe fundamentally. So he on his journeys with his new adoptive daughter, who he has not yet acknowledged as his adoptive daughter because that would mean positioning him in the position of being an old guy, which he objects to. He runs up against one of the bratty littlest sister of the three holy maidens who hold a lot of sway in the world in that particular region, and she's basically on a quest to eliminate the demon lord, and so she gets up and is basically spouting off a lot of fighting words pretty much, and she's like, you know, a little girl, and he basically picks her up in one hand and then spanks her for being bad-tempered and generally nasty. And this would have been another opportunity where, they could have totally sexualized this out the wazoo. After all, she looks young, but she's 16 years old according to the character bios. So
Because of course
this could have gone, you know, way south really quickly. But it's absolutely non-sexualized. Like you'd have to project sexualization onto it yourself in order to see any, because he is clearly just an adult disciplining a rambunctious child who's gotten too big for her boots. And then he moves on, and she just complains that she can't now sit in her carriage because her backside is too sore. But yeah, so if the medium as a whole can grow up, I would be quite happy with that, because honestly I'm getting a bit sick of all this skeevy stuff that's going to get you arrested by the FBI just in order to watch any anime whatsoever. You seemed to have to accept that for a little while.
Yeah.
But if I can get rid of that. The other thing that I would note is that there have been no incest anime that I've seen yet this season. Like,
What?
none.
This would have to be a grade A first.
There's no one macking on their sister and or brother. It's just not happening.
Impossible.
Yeah, I probably just haven't seen it yet. That's
Yeah,
all.
it'll be there.
This should be the norm.
Ah,
Damn it.
there it is.
It should be the norm, but we live in a society, etc.
No, we don't.
No.
We live in a degenerate piece of crap. It needs to be flush.
Someone's salty
You sound
today.
You sound
Little
happy.
bit. Little bit.
Little bit. Okay, well, we'll get into that story, I guess, after the break.
Yeah, I'm pretty much done anyway.
All right, so we shall play some music, and we'll be back in a few minutes.
Shaw,
Ja, get good.
get good.
I'm in trouble here.
Yes. Oh, okay, we're back.
So, yeah.
We have the rest of Vols week, I think. I don't know how far along y'all are in y'all's weeks or what's happened.
No, I don't really have anything
think that
else
was
to talk
it.
about. I didn't do much this week. Not yet. I'll probably watch some more shows tonight. I'll be able to talk about them next week.
Yep.
Okie doke. Well, I guess we'll get on to why I'm late. So TLDR, work happened. I got here an hour late, and I sat here for 20 minutes waiting for a good section to drop in. and then Vol said the I word, and I took the opportunity to drop in with a sledgehammer.
Yep. So, yeah. Okay, what exactly happened? How much is on fire?
Nothing's on fire this time. People are just really, really stupid and did not do what they said they were going to do. So at the last minute, I have to go run in and fix stuff because a customer called me and it's like, I don't have this order. It says it's not shipped. Like, what's going on? Well, hang on, somebody was supposed to do that yesterday. Let me go make sure it's done. And have to go drag my butt over there and get it done. And then I find the person who's responsible and get stuck with them.
Ugh.
Until an hour into showtime. And then I abandoned them after an hour, after almost an hour, and said, look, I will come back and help you get this done later. I've got stuff I promised to some people I would do tonight. You need to hang on until about, 1:30 in the morning.
Oh, dear. So, yeah, it
You
sounds
get
like it's
some
been good times all
funny
around.
looks. Yeah, you get some funny looks when you tell people you'll be back at 1:30 in the morning. Especially when it's a person who has just lied to you and saying they will do something and then not done them. I don't know if I can describe the look he gave me. But I just lied to you about doing stuff yesterday is what it said. And you just told me you're going to be back at 1:30 in the morning after you finish doing whatever you're going to be doing. You can see I don't believe you going through his head. I'm going to kill people one day.
Please don't. I know you had that newspaper article when you were a kid, but yeah.
Right, so this transitions to the little week I had. I was very busy this week. So this will be fun.
Yes.
I'll put this one in the live show chat since it's a picture from when I was like 16, 17, 18, something like that. So in 2007, I was on the front page of the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, and somebody dug this stupid archived newspaper up and sent it to me. And the title of the image when they sent it to me was something along the lines of, that time you made the front page of the AJC and looked like a serial killer. And they weren't wrong.
Yeah.
Though, to be fair, some fat kid was stopped in front of me and would not move in the hallway that was already crowded.
Tell you what though, if they wanted looks like they wanted a photo of someone who was just done, and that's exactly what they got.
Yeah, that happened.
Yeah.
Well, they usually take like a gajillion different photos, and they just pick the one that suits
Usually,
their purposes.
Yeah. The funny part about the story is I had no clue the guy was A, taking the picture, and B, what happened after the story got published.
Oh dear.
I had the same teacher for web design and for programming. I forget which class I was in, but I went into his class. He puts the dang picture on the monitor. Not the monitor, but the projector, because we had those. And they were brand new.
Yeah, it was that time.
Yeah, it was the computer lab, and we had a projector. So he pulls up a color scan of this thing, which was also new, and he puts it on the wall at the start of class, and he goes, "So before we begin class, I just have a question for the one." He says my name, and he flips the light switch on the projector, and he turns it on, and he goes, "Why do you look like you're about to murder somebody?" To the whole class while this thing's on the wall. in the computer lab, and I'm just like, I didn't even know they took that picture, which was true.
Yeah.
So that was a fun bit of history.
Yeah, I told Valder's story, but I ended up on the Townsville Bulletin front page I think I was in maybe 3rd grade at the time. Thankfully, I didn't look like a serial killer.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, you managed it. But I only just realised that the other day when we were talking about it, there was a girl also in that same photo shoot. And she kind of became my headcanon appearance for a certain serial killer / body mutilator.
Well,
So, yeah, okay. Brains are stupid.
but yeah. Only time that stupid high school of mine ever made the front page, and I found my serial killer ass mug there.
Yes.
That's what it looks like. But it's a sad week when that's a highlight of my week, was I get to laugh at myself from when I was younger. Because really nothing happened this freaking week. I was so busy.
It's just been that kind of week all round, I think.
I played some Hollow Knight. Got some progress in God Home. I'm getting good.
Hornet told you to get good, so get good.
Well, we're working on it. I beat Hornet.
A few times.
I beat Hornet on Radiant difficulty.
Nice.
So the way God Home works, I was saving it for this week to have something to do. Was there are 2 modes. There is the single boss fight mode where you fight a boss and can select from Attuned, which is post-game normal story mode difficulty. So they're tuned up a little bit, but not very much. They still hit for the same amount of damage and whatever. And same arena, and you just get teleported there to fight them. And then you have Ascended, where they do double damage. So bosses that hit for one damage will hit for 2, and bosses that hit for 2 damage will hit for 4. And their arena is usually changed to make them significantly more difficult.
Oh dear.
Usually in the form of a floor being removed. So you now have itty-bitty platforms to stand on.
Yeah, for most bosses, that would be a game breaker.
And then you have, in Ascended mode, their health is increased by somewhere around 33% for most bosses.
Because of course it is.
Yeah. And then you have Radiant difficulty, which is Ascended difficulty, but you die in 1 hit, regardless of anything that happens. Doesn't matter if you negate the damage of that attack. Doesn't matter at all. If you hit anything that does damage, you die and have to redo the fight.
Oh dear.
So this is my preferred mode to do the stuff in God Home. And you just get completion percent and lore cutscenes for doing this, but there is no in-game power reward from this in any way. And then there's the Pantheons, where you fight. The first 4 are somewhere between 9 to 12 bosses each, and they're just a boss rush of the bosses on Attuned difficulty. So post game for normal Hollow Knight, and they get harder and harder as you go from Pantheons 1 to 4. And you can do them with what they call bindings if you really want to get little badges. Yeah, and they are. You can do the Pantheon with your nail reset to level 1. You can do the Pantheon with no charms equipped, so no charms to make your nail longer or get more soul mana for those that don't play the game from hitting enemies and stuff. No sprint charms. You got to do it all with base movements and base attack values for everything. You got one that only lets you keep 1 pip of soul, so you can only heal 1 mask of health at a time, or do 1 singular spell before you're completely out of soul.
This is sounding like just masochist mode.
Yeah, it gets to that point. And then you have the one that makes you go into the Pantheon with only 4 health. That one's actually not that bad, because you can heal it. So it's just if you obsessively play maxing out your masks anyway and making sure your health's topped off, you're not going to see much of a change between 10 masks and 4 masks.
True.
And then the last one, which is the one I'm stuck on, and have not had time to practice or grind out because it is going to take a lot of practice and it is very, very long, is the Pantheon of Hallownest at the very top. That is 46 fights. Every single thing with a title card they consider a boss in the game.
So bosses, sub-bosses, Zote.
All bosses and mini-bosses, including Zote. However, fun fact that I did not know before I got home. I went to got home. If you let Zote die, you don't have to fight his dream version.
Okay.
Which would have been real handy to know, because his dream version is... His battle strategy seems to be something along the lines of, if I don't know what I'm doing, you can't know what I'm doing either, and we'll just get random hits on you.
It seems like it's some sort of failure cascade, but you get caught up in it.
It's like, he fights like you expect Zote would, but
Badly.
Every movement has an incidental shockwave or something that causes him to accidentally hit you. And he's really, really tough.
Yeah.
Especially when you're doing dumb things like cutting your nail damage down to level 1. So you can't rush him through his harder phases.
Yeah. Does leaving Zote, or letting Zote die, actually lock out the final phase of the arena quest line as well?
I have no idea. I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's a good question.
Have to science that one day.
Yeah, I could go look it up, but yeah.
Yeah, maybe
so
later.
This has put Hollow Knight on the brain, and I have just during breaks at work or after work, I've gone on the Hollow Knight wiki and just started downloading every meme I see.
Yes, you have.
That explains a lot.
Because it's literally all I've had time to do this week. And this involved a lot of buzzsaws.
Yeah, that palace.
Yeah, I also did the Path of Pain in the White Palace looking for something to do.
Yeah, that's because you're crazy.
That took 3 hours. I did that pretty soon after the show last week. And yeah, it that hurt. I do have a few videos to showcase what happened and how painful some of these fights were. My favorite fights in Hollow Knight right now are the Sisters of Battle and the Pure Vessel, by far, of the new fights that have been added. The Sisters of Battle I have a video of it from my eventual clear of the Radiant version. It's one of the few bosses I sat down and just decided I wanted to do the Radiant version because the fight was so much fun. I just wanted to learn it really well. It's a really beautiful fight where it's the original Mantis Lords, but instead of fighting one of them and then the 2 remaining, you fight one of them. That one stands back up, and the other 2 join it, and you're fighting all 3 at the same time with a ridiculous amount of health.
Well, the screen real estate. There would be nowhere to go.
Oh, they very rarely have all 3 on screen at once.
Yeah, they have selected attack patterns too. They can get desynced, but Team Cherry did something incredibly smart because Team Cherry is a bunch of smart dudes.
Mm-hmm.
And they put reset sync points in the fight. So if they start coming down from the sky too quickly or overlapping with each other, their AI will actually fix itself and place two of the Mantis Lords on the other end of the platform you're standing on, which does eat a lot of floor real estate. But it will reset their timings on everything so that they're not overlapping each other anymore, and it's always a fair chance for you to dodge everything. I think I've had one instance in like 40 attempts where one attack would have required me to Shadow Dash to be invincible when it went off.
Wow.
I'm not even 100% sure that was a problem. That might have just been me not seeing an opening. So,
yeah, that's a good job that did.
Also, the video URL for my Pure Vessel kill has 1337 in the title.
Oh dear.
So there's in the live show chat, I dropped both the link to the newspaper I was mentioning briefly earlier and the two videos of the fights I liked and got home the most. Unfortunately, there is no music for the Sisters of Battle fight because I had to turn it off. There's too many things coming down to attack you too quickly and at set patterns for me to have the music drowning them out. So I killed the music so I could actually hear the sound cues.
All right.
Pure Vessel's the face full of Void Wing Wong fight,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, Big Boy Hollow Knight with the face full of Void Wing Wong.
Void Wing Wong.
I haven't beat him on Radiant yet. I want to, but the fight's really hard. And it took me more attempts than I would like to chew through the Ascended version, and just I haven't had time this week to keep grinding. I needed to work. So yeah, played some FGO, did some summer stuff. Got Momo. That's all I care about. A lot of good rolls.
Got your Momo.
Yeah, I'd gone a few months without any really big, A++ rank luck here, but pulled it out this week with the anniversary courts and got that A++ luck working again and got Momo and a few other things. We'll say
there's another 30 anniversary courts today.
Ooh.
Oh, is there?
Yep.
Cool. I can try and get the other Momo. I ran out of courts.
You should really stop spending on this banner and wait for her to have her specific rate up.
Yeah, I know. What you call it? Yeah. I threw at the generic banner just for funsies, basically.
Yeah.
But yeah. So FGO's been a thing. I've played it on lunch breaks. That's about it.
All right.
I did have. Other than that, I think that's about all the time I can fill with stuff I did, and I had to cheat with a newspaper article from over a decade ago because I didn't really do very much. I did follow the Vic case this week quite a bit, which, if you have not started following the Vic case, now is a good time to do it. I had it on in the background while I had free time.
It kind of went quiet for a while.
Holy guacamole. It's hilarious.
It's not quiet anymore?
I just keep getting taken aback by just how retarded it is so much of the time. I keep thinking that they've hit their limit of retardation. I'm always wrong.
Yeah. No, they're really that stupid. It's kind of amazing, actually. In fact, Casey, Ron and Monica's lawyer, did something so stupid we haven't heard from him since he did it.
Oh my!
He called over one of what Ty calls the Amazons at his law firm. Female attorneys he keeps on staff because it's a law firm and female attorneys are a good thing to have for depositions and fact witnesses who either are female or will respond well to females.
Yep.
So he brought one along with him for the deposition of Ron Toye or Soye, and she was sidebarring with Ty about what to ask, and Casey decided she was saying inappropriate things in the sidebar, so he live, still on the record, basically does an informal objection to sidebar that doesn't exist. You can't do that. And starts he says after a rant about it that Ty needs to get his attorney to behave herself because he didn't like some of the things she was saying, which you can't hear because they're very muffled off camera. Mm-hmm. And they're just discussing what to ask for the actual deposition because it's all being picked up on Ron's microphone. And Ty just pauses for a second and goes, "Did you just tell my female attorney to behave herself in this case?" And without missing a beat, Casey goes, yes, not realizing what he just said and did that destroyed his own case and credibility.
Yeah.
And you just hear Ty chuckling.
This one's going on the court blooper reel.
Ty requests to go off the record, and reports are there was very loud cussing and yelling in the hallway after that. Ty went full Chad Dad alpha male on little beta Soye. It was hilarious. Because
I thought it was his lawyer. I thought you said it was his lawyer.
Oh yeah, his lawyer, not Sawyer. On Sawyer's lawyer, on Casey.
I wonder if someone's in trouble with the bar now.
But I'm pretty sure that you know, if I had any belief in their intellectual consistency, won't Ron and Monica pretty much have to fire him for soggy knees?
No, they'd have to string him up by his scrotum.
Yeah, we don't know why the heck anybody would represent these two idiots. But here's the funny thing, the real funny thing. Casey shut up and stopped communicating with Ty after this, and his partner Jason Lemoyne took over.
Ooh, yeah.
And Jason he's the guy that did the deposition of Vic, and he has a case of the West Nile virus or something. Like, it was something legitimately really awful. So he sounds like he eats a bowl of cigarettes for breakfast every morning during Vic's deposition.
So he's basically the deposition is being done by Palpatine.
Yeah, and the guy is legitimately sick. So Casey screwed up so bad when he did that
it's better to have someone who can't talk than that guy.
Yeah, they literally got the sick guy to take over for email correspondence and doing the depo of Vic.
Oh,
and
yeah.
that was a mistake.
That's how
Vic,
you know you're screwed up.
Because Vic ran Lemoyne over in the deposition like a steamroller. Completely obliterated the guy. Vic started taking control of the deposition about less than an hour into it. Because Jason was just so bad at his job and getting so genuinely frustrated that Vic wasn't saying anything he could use and was being consistent with his answers. And Vic was looking him in the eye the whole time.
Possibly Vic listens to lawyers' advice and was coached before the deposition, as opposed to the other lawyers' clients who didn't pay attention to anything their lawyer told them.
Yeah, the other lawyers' clients that we assume Casey coached Ron with the following advice. When I say objection form, you say, I can't recall, regardless of the context of the question. And this got him in trouble. There are, no joke, probably 100 times, Ty had to write down objection non-responsive.
There used to be a joke running around about a lawyer who coached their client that way. It's not supposed to be a guideline.
Well, the judge's name is Chup in one of the most conservative counties in Texas. You're going to tell me he's going to let Discovery Games keep going like this and in the deposition?
Nope.
He's going to pull a gun on that lawyer.
If your judge's name is Chup, maybe you should think more carefully about how you're approaching him.
Judge, try and not be a total soy boy.
I would try to at least project the image of somebody who used to be an alpha Chad, even if they're not anymore. Because guess what? Chup is. I don't know what Chup looks like. I don't know how Chup acts, but I can tell you from the name Chup, if he has not changed it to a nickname, that guy is more alpha than you are and is very proud of that.
But then so is most of the planet, to be honest.
That is true.
Including most of the women.
Oh, dear.
That is true. It is, but yeah, it's a wonderful bit of entertainment right now. If you're looking for something to have on in the background that is just, I can't turn away from this. The train wreck keeps going.
Well, yeah. Look, what happened to that evidence you presented as core to this case? Oh, it's been deleted.
Oh yeah, that hundreds of girls.
Yeah, the hundreds of girls that don't exist.
It took Ty 10 minutes of weaseling, leading, and basically giving Ron a freebie for him to come up with one that wasn't Monica.
Yeah, couldn't do it.
Oh, and by the way, all those hit pieces about Vic that people were referencing over and over again confirm that Ron Soye and Monica were the sources for those. So they don't mean anything.
Yeah, well, I mean, but that's they live in that internet space, right? That culture of writers referencing writers, and the bubble of people who obtain their justifications for everything in a circular fashion. Like it's a pretty well known phenomenon. For instance, how truth gets established in sort of journalism, and emphasis on the churn is that basically somebody with an agenda will write some total bullcrap on Wikipedia, and it will get flagged as needing a reference because it's total bullcrap. And then some so-called journalist who's in a rush will want to check a fact, and they'll go to Wikipedia because they do this because they have no class, and they'll check the fact on Wikipedia and they'll record it without bothering to take note of the fact that it's not cited. And then when the person who wrote those so-called facts on Wikipedia is looking for a citation to prove their case, they will use that article as the reference. And so fact becomes established.
That's assuming they don't write the Wikipedia article, write their own article on their own website, and then use that as a source to give the Wikipedia article a reference.
But what I'm saying though is that you don't need to do that. The phenomenon, in the way that these circles operate, that phenomenon will be established regardless. You don't need skullduggery of any kind. You don't need deception or fraud of any kind in order for it to happen, because the quality of the writers who write articles which are supposed to be taken as news these days is so low that they actually establish things in what one might have once called general knowledge that are completely false simply by being lazy at their jobs.
Yep. And I'm time-stamping the two funny parts, first from Vic's depot that we have so far, and then from Soye's depot.
Yeah, I'm going to watch those later.
If you want a couple highlights, there are some. The other highlight in Vic's depot is when they're going through everybody tangentially related to Vic that's shown him any kind of support or been outspoken against him. And they're going, do you know this name? And, you know, Jay-Sean Lemoyne and his dying throat Emperor Palpatine. Oh, they're calling him the Fuhrer. That's right, because Jay-Sean Lemoyne made a big deal about how he didn't like that Vic was called the Fuhrer because Fuhrer King Bradley, Full Metal Alchemist, for the Risen Bull Rangers, his fan club. Vic gave a very good answer to everything related to that, and Jay-Sean was livid about it. Like, the dude is genuinely mad at Vic.
Do these people have no experience in law? Because that's what the impression that I've gotten from the little snippets of this that I've watched, is that they must have learned law by watching courtroom dramas, because that's how they behave.
Bad ones.
Yeah. So, they also don't know the internet, because Jay-Sean's new internet name is Fuhrer King Jay-Sean Lesoyne.
Well, that's
unironically
blatant.
Since he made such a big deal about Vic's fan club calling him the Fuhrer, the internet has taken that and run with it. Everywhere is calling him the Fuhrer.
You don't bait the internet. You can't win that fight.
You just don't play it.
Nobody has ever won that fight.
To quote Ty Beard, and he was just referring to one website, but he means the whole internet, I would rather pick a fight with ISIS than the farms.
It seems really... I don't know. These people just seem to be of a really special level of incompetent. Emphasis on the special.
It just seems to be the type of people that get bred nowadays and raised in this culture. This social media connected culture.
You'd think that they would have learned some law at law school, though, right? Like, I think so. I mean, when you play these games, you aren't performing for a crowd. You don't need to act the way they do on telly because there's no audience. What you need to do is establish credibility for your case above all else, not, just draw things out and try and, expect that the person that you're deposing is going to make some sort of dramatic mistake and you're going to be able to say, aha. No,
Objection.
because they have a lawyer as well. So
if anything other than the scenario of Casey or the Fuhrer behind the scenes screaming at Ron and Monica to settle and them just refusing after they've already accepted to represent them, if any scenario but that one has played out and they're just rolling with what they can because they got nothing, these two guys are the biggest idiots in the world ever to have an attorney's license.
it just seems farcical. Like I watched them trying to weasel information out of Vic and have him try and say something which would be, damning to his credibility or something like that. But it was not like Vic was getting played. It looked more like the lawyer was being played.
Yeah, Ty apparently, rumor is that because of how timestamps were going on the day he said he needed to help Vic prep for the deposition, they were prepping for over 8 hours.
Yeah, I can believe that.
Like, so Vic came into this thing ready to go. I posted a GIF in the video games thread, or not the video games, the anime thread about it, of Vic just doing a little happy dance about an hour and a half into the deposition.
Well,
yes.
It seems like that this is mostly due to the sort of, I think that Ron and Monica have gone in with a flippant attitude towards this whole thing, and that they have taken as their legal counsel lawyers that also have a flippant attitude, the idea that they are entitled to win because they're on the right side of history type of thing.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't really matter what they do.
They don't seem to realize that people can disagree with them.
Whereas Vic is going in to defend his good name.
Yeah.
Like his life rides on this. How people will see him rides on this. So he's going to go in there as a trained actor, ready to perform his role perfectly.
One with
to preserve his existence.
One with strong, natural, traditional conservative charisma too. Like he's got friendly dad mode on all the time. Like he's got hair with nice highlights. The girls know he's straight as an arrow, and like this dude is going to absolutely slay a jury versus Toye, who looks and acts like a slime ball.
He just looks like a complete weasel by comparison.
Yeah.
There's no way anybody would take him as credible, especially since as far as I've heard, he isn't anything but a mouthpiece for Monica to begin with. Like he doesn't have any special knowledge.
Yes.
The only thing he's done in this entire role is shoot his mouth off and make himself look like an idiot.
Yep. But he is the one that started the pedophile accusations baselessly against Vic, so he got brought in round one. Yeah, that's what we think, because there is evidence of him doing it. And we actually have accounts this time that did not retract themselves immediately.
Well, I think that's how it works with a lot of these echo chamber ultra progressive types, right? They think that they can fling an accusation of pedophilia at somebody and that there's a pretty good chance that it'll stick because everybody they know it would stick to.
Yep. But
that's just the circles that they move in. Everybody's a sleazeball. So they just assume that, everybody else who isn't in my circle must also be a sleazeball because I'm a great person. Everybody else must be worse.
That's what it ultimately comes down to, is I'm a great person, therefore I'm right.
Yep. But yeah, the Kickvic case has picked up speed again. There's a whole lot of stuff going on with it right now. It's great entertainment. I couldn't watch all of Soye's deposition, but if you want to, I posted a link to a highlight and you can reset the stream from there to watch the whole thing. But yeah, they've gotten so desperate they copyright claimed Nick's live stream, mid live stream. Sony did.
How?
It
Parent
was
company. Parent company to
company.
Funimation.
Oh, right. Yep.
All they would need is for somebody at Funimation to know the right person with access to that. And the thing is that the people that operate this stuff are probably the same people who operate like the social media accounts and that sort of thing. This is probably done behind their legal department's back.
Mhm.
Yeah. It was retracted before it could even show up on screen. Because within 3 minutes out of the thing being filed, Nick had gone on a tirade about how he's going to sue Sony's pants off and win, and listing every single case he would reference. And Ty sent him a message in real time and said, "You can use this as my official response. Let's just sue the effers. I'll help," or something like that. It was, and as soon as Ty sent that message, claim went down.
It's going to be interesting to see what happens after the whole Vic case is over, because I wouldn't be surprised if Nick and Ty actually do put together some sort of case.
Well, current estimates is that this case will probably be dragged on for 8 to 12 months, from what I've heard.
That was Jay Sean Lemoyne that said that, and that is, I would not take that as credible.
Well, the way he's setting himself up for an open and shut defeat, like
yeah, so he may as well milk some money out of it.
But what that does mean is that they have given up on any chance of having it dismissed.
Yeah, but yeah, Jay Sean leaked that to the Tao of Dragon Ball along with other information. The Tao of Dragon Ball realized he had accidentally I forget exactly what it was, that he had published something he wasn't supposed to have access to. That was supposed to be attorney-client privilege between Monica Ron and Lemoyne/Casey.
Whoops.
So he whoopsied and deleted both the one that said it's going to run for 8 to 12 months and a few other statements in that article. If not killed the article entirely.
How long's it been going now? About 6 months?
The whole thing, it was announced in February. The GoFundMe got its funds together by early April, and now we're seeing the discovery was done last month, and now we're seeing depositions start, and should get court hearings at the end of the month.
Okay.
So this is a movie blazing fast for legal stuff.
It is.
Because Ty just had the money already.
Yeah, and I expect that's probably part of why Vic's been able to put in such a sterling performance, in spite of the fact that the situation he's facing is basically where a huge number of people who he regarded as friends or friendly acquaintances have, like, in sync decided to stab him in the back.
Yeah.
And but he's probably well aware that the sheer level of support he has behind him is going to be able to buoy him through this pretty much. Because if he was doing this all on his own, I doubt he'd have the sort of gunpowder that he does, clearly in the deposition.
Yeah, and you can tell, like, he's was really hurt by a few of these people because he thought they were genuinely friends, and he learned who his real friends were real fast. One of which was his perpetual rival, who he on and off loved and hated, Todd Habercorn. Like, they were constantly had a very professional, very intense rivalry going, but Todd came out on Vic's side. Chuck Huber came out on Vic's side. And these were the two big ones that have risked their jobs by going public about it. Todd got had an accusation thrown his way, and he had to hire Ty Beard for supporting Vic.
But that's sort of how you can tell that either one of these two things is going to be true, possibly both. Number one, the people throwing these accusations live in a really, really toxic environment where they can reasonably expect that if they throw such an accusation at a random person, it will stick. And number two, they're bullcrap. Because you can't just suddenly somebody is no longer in your favor or have declared sides and you all of a sudden know that they are evil. They weren't evil yesterday, but today they are.
Yeah, and my favorite line of Vic's deposition, and I don't have a timestamp handy for this. I sent it to Val. I'll dig it up and stick it in there at some point. But that when they're going through the list of names, they go, "Chris Sabat, you know him?" And Vic goes, "Yep." And he asks Lemoyne asks the next question, and then he goes, "Trustworthy guy as far as you know?" And Vic, without missing a beat, goes, "No, sir." And that, you can tell he is really, really emotionally angry and torn up because he thought Sabat was his friend. And he mentions that in the deposition. He thought Sabat was in his corner. Sabat had always said he's in his corner. But Chuck Huber, of all people, who was not one of Vic's better friends, came out and told him everything that Sabat said.
Yeah, and apparently and it's not just that Sabat changed sides or anything like that. Apparently this had been going on behind Vic's back for a long time.
For, at least a decade. And
that has to hurt, man.
That's really got to hurt, yeah.
And Greg Ayers' little campaign internally against Christians was pretty much confirmed. He does not. Greg Ayers is the less talented brother of Chris Ayers and has a really obnoxious voice. A lot of people don't like Greg Ayers' voice, but he's a gay SJW and did not like Vic because Vic was a conservative Christian, basically, and has been outspoken against Vic for years. In fact, you can trace a lot of these accusations against Vic to rumors that Greg started, a decade ago. All the ones that are really long running seem to originate from Greg.
Oh dear.
Yeah. Oh, it looks like Vol already posted the timestamp.
Excellent.
But I sent that link of that timestamp to Vol, just intending to show him the Sabat lines that are like 20 seconds in, or just 20 seconds long, and Vol apparently kept watching for like 30 more minutes.
Well, I didn't watch 30 more minutes because I kept pausing to express my utter incredulity to you at what I was seeing.
It's like a beautiful train wreck. Just watching Vic pimp slap these soy boys. He just totally owns them. Versus Soye, who is incredibly difficult to watch because you feel like you need to shower after it. But yeah,
the overall impression I got is that lawyer just seemed lost. Like it seemed like he didn't know what he was doing. That he was just hoping that if I just keep throwing out these names, eventually it will be over. Maybe he'll give us something. Maybe he won't. Just get me out of here.
Yeah. And I think Nick said it best. He's like, I would not bring somebody who is in any way less alpha than Vic to do the deposition, because he's going to be able to out charisma them and win them over. And if it was up to me, I would get the prettiest lady I could find to do the deposition.
Oh, come on.
To see
Vic
since
rolled
these
Vic rolled an 18 in charisma. Let's face it.
He's built his entire career off of it. Like if he didn't also have the charisma, wouldn't matter how talented he was. He never would have had the sort of whiz-bang type of career that he did as a voice. Yeah. Very few Western voice actors can really distinguish themselves the way he did.
Yeah. So coming in with anyone not even remotely as charismatic as Vic is just a death sentence.
Yeah, there's Ruben Langdon is the only other voice actor, and he does mocap mostly. He's not even a proper voice actor that has the same kind of natural charisma. And
he's kind of a weirdo. I think that's why people like him.
Yeah, but he genuinely loves the fans. So, and that's the thing. Like Langdon and Vic, who are highly successful, have in common, and people know their names because they love their fans. Vic went into this deposition with a fan-made coffee cup that had Ouran High School Host Club characters on it.
I wondered what that was that he was drinking out of. It's like, that is really colorful for a standard issue courtroom coffee cup.
It was a brilliant move on his part, IMO, just to bring that fan cup in.
Well, he knows that there are limits in what he can say about the fans' support of him. Like, because, I mean, it's been very obvious that while I'm sure that he is very, very thankful for all the people that are supporting him, like to the tune of, what is it, $215,000 or whatever.
Yeah.
He can't say anything about it directly. He can't gush with praise or anything like that. But he has to let people know somehow.
Almost $220,000. With many donations recently from people under the pseudonym The Fuhrer.
Of course.
Or the Frog Throat Fuhrer, etc. Smokes 10 packs a day Fuhrer. Like, oh goodness, the donations are hilarious.
I love you sometimes, internet.
The internet's wonderful sometimes. Even when it's disgusting, it can be wonderful.
Yes. Sometimes it can be wonderfully disgusting.
So, So yeah, they got bodied, at least for this first part of the deposition. There'll be more up probably tonight or early next week. I don't know if Nick is taking a break for the weekend. Sometimes he does, sometimes he doesn't. And we will see. Wait, yeah, it is. Oh, it's live right now. So after the show, you can go and check out part 2 if you want, if that sounds interesting. But yeah, this is just so entertaining. Like at this point, I'm listening to this part of the week because it's a part of my weekly
entertainment. It should be dry and boring.
It's caught.
Legal stuff is always dry and boring.
Not this time. This has been the go-to source of entertainment if I just need something on in the background and cannot put a whole lot of brain power into really paying super close attention to it.
Wouldn't that result, though, in a lot of situations where you have to wind it back because, hang on, I cannot possibly have heard that right?
Oh yeah, it's at first that was a regular occurrence, but as time went on, I just started realizing these people really are that stupid. And just assumed my first hearing of it was correct because it usually was.
I haven't reached that stage yet. I haven't reached that stage yet. I'm keep like, did they really say that? No, I can't have heard that right. Nobody's that dumb.
Yeah, like it clicked for me about the point Jamie Marchi was dodging process and being served the papers by pretending she wasn't home.
Yeah.
And
I know that happened, but I also was able to convince myself, that must be an isolated case, right? The density of dense people can't possibly be that high that everybody involved in this is, unable to walk and breathe at the same time.
A whole lot of stuff would make a whole lot more sense if it comes out that the only reason Monica and Ron can afford this is because Casey and the Fuhrer are doing this pro bono because they believe the SJW rhetoric, and that's why they got genuinely mad at Vic during the deposition when he didn't give them anything.
Yeah, well, if nothing else, that's really unprofessional, like to the point where I don't see how you could have made a living as a lawyer.
Yeah.
So they're doing it. They must be doing it pro bono because they're desperate to get some exposure because I can't see how they could have a good reputation if this is their performance.
Oh,
this is the best that they can bring to the table.
Yeah, Casey got let go from his firm.
I think that they want to be the lawyers that took down this famous media personality, not really grasping that the fame in question has been projected by people who think that their industry is more important than it really is, and that they really don't stand a chance because the people who have presented them with this case are, well, I doubt that they've said anything true yet so far.
Yeah, it's really bad. But if you want to see people like that get slammed, that deposition with Vic in it is amazing to watch and listen to. Let me. Oh, hang on, Sean. Let me just read you what the GoFundMe's page says about me, since I was not involved in setting it up. These kind of responses are the responses Vic gave. Little calm Vic with his constant eye contact with Lemoyne. And I love Vic's body language especially because we saw Soye's first. And we saw how slimy he looked. Oh my goodness, Vic looks like every word he says is telling the truth in comparison, and there is no weaseling at all. And it's not acting. The dude's a voice actor. He's not trained in body language, or not practiced in body language.
I think that the more important than any of that stuff is the fact that Vic's telling the truth.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's very, very easy to be convincing if you've got charisma and you're speaking the truth. Yeah. None of your unconscious tells will show up. You'll just be able to, like. The thing is that the lawyers, like, let's just assume the lawyers are completely innocent for a moment, that they are just incredibly mediocre at their jobs, but they've been brought a case that they think has been brought in good faith to be the defenders for the defense counsel for Ron and Monica. Given the accusations by Ron and Monica, given their behavior online, given all of that, these two lawyers have probably been fed an unending stream of crap and conspiracy theories from those two.
Yep.
They have probably now under the impression prior to this deposition that this entire thing is like some sort of evil white supremacist conspiracy that has been set up. That all they need to do is jam their questions into the right chink in the armor, and the whole conspiracy will be unveiled. Because that's just how Ron and Monica think. They think that that's the case. That there is this grand patriarchy conspiracy. But when you actually deal with the questions that have simple and true answers, it starts to become clear that, oh, well, I mean, you thought you were going to unravel a conspiracy, but there is no conspiracy there, just a brick wall.
Yeah. It gives off the vibe that, like, maybe before the SJWism started, Monica and Ron were normal but weak-willed people, and they got swept up in the whirlwind and just took it and incorporated it into their core beliefs real fast.
Well, it's a drug, right? Because it gives you self-righteousness.
Yeah. So, and yeah, their lawyers might have got caught up in it too. It's if you're not aware of it, you can get caught up in that kind of stuff real easy. So it's possible.
The thing is that Monica was also one of these voice actors like Vic who had a lot of charisma and a lot of fans. It's probably not too hard for her to bamboozle her lawyers into thinking that they're warriors for justice.
Yeah. So, and yeah, they are so mad at any bit of support Vic gets. It's hilarious. But yeah, I have thoroughly enjoyed this. I recommend people that have been sitting on the fence or just waiting for updates about it, actually go check it out now. There's enough out there where you could feasibly spend weeks binging all the video content just from Nick alone. And that's if you don't go to the supplemental commentators. Like, the only one of those I would actually recommend is that Umbrella guy, Tug, and that's Southern Bias.
Yes, because he sounds like Mr. Rogers.
He sounds like a Southern Mr. Rogers, yeah.
Yeah.
Hey there.
Hey there.
I love Tug.
Great.
But yeah, and there's just so much here to keep you entertained, and it never stops. It hasn't stopped for 5+ months.
If you just want a full-on hot-blooded rant, just about any of Nick's streams are great for that.
Oh, this latest, the last, not the one going on tonight, but Vic Deposition Part 1 had him lose his mind a few times.
Oh my.
He couldn't believe the stupid, and he's been the guy that's been commentating on everything. He got so mad that he got Ty to message him, let's just sue the effers live on stream.
Dear.
Oh boy. But yeah, that's about as far as I can stretch my week without
I suppose it's like that famous Voltaire saying, right? I have never made but one prayer to God, a very short one. Oh Lord, make my enemies ridiculous. And God granted
it. Wise words.
Yeah. But I don't I've already hampered on the Vic thing way longer than I originally intended to. I just I wanted to point out how much fun it's been and let people know that if they want a good time with background noise,
there are some lulls.
It's fun. It's really fun.
I will probably have a look at some of those lulls later on.
Yeah, if you can stomach, I would recommend skipping around a bit during one of the depots.
Yeah, I might see if I can find a highlights reel or something.
But yeah, you can watch Vixen full. It's pretty safe if you can stand the Fuhrer's smoker voice. But Ron's is you need a shower after listening to that kid.
Yeah. All right.
I think the dude's younger than me, by the way, which is scary.
Does that make him young or you old?
Both.
There's no winning these arguments. It's always both.
Yes. So I think Seraphis said he sent us an email, and
he
did.
So I'll clean up the box. And...
yeah, it's a bit of junk in there. Who wants to take it?
Just squirted water all over my face. Ugh.
Don't do that.
I'm on a roll, so I guess it's not super long. So I guess I can take it since I already have it up. Okay, let's see. This is from Seraphis. I'll read it in full and then we can comment our way through. It says, Dear No Excuses, so it has come to this. One Punch Man died the way it lived. Not with a bang, but with a WTF was this piece of crap. Seriously. The season ended in the middle of 2 arcs. The final fight was against a giant enemy centipede. Possibly the most boring fight in the entire season because the monster had no arms or legs. So it only had one attack. Ram into things. It just no sold the hero's attacks because the thing was 99% armor. And no, reusing Lord Boros' theme didn't make it the fight any more epic. It made the song more lame. So I needed something else for my animation fix. Young Justice. It's back in action. And it rides the woke train as hard as ever. We learned that one of the characters is non-binary. In her case, I guess she is excused. She is a corpse reanimated by the soul of a sentient computer, so having a biology is pretty new to her, because comics. Don't worry, I'll be back to talking Doom soon enough. Serathus, thank you for the email, Serathus.
Well, if it's the soul of a computer, isn't it by definition binary?
I see what you did there. Stop it.
It depends on the system architecture. It could have a non-binary system architecture.
Well, it's not a computer. The only thing that we know as a computer is a system based on logic gates, and logic gates can only have one of 2 outputs, true or false.
I suppose I don't know the character, so I guess
if it's a computer, it has to be binary because you can only have true or false.
Yeah, but comics.
Yeah, I think its gender is alive at this point.
just alive.
Man, Serathus has done very little other than basically wail to the heavens at his sense of betrayal over the latest season of One Punch Man.
It's been bad.
I thought about watching the first season because everybody said that it was great, and the way that people have reacted to the second season just makes me not want to watch the first one either.
I watched some of the first season and dropped it to say I'd come back later. I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. It was good, but not as good as the hype train made it out to be, and it's not my type of show.
Yeah, it was fun enough.
I like brainless fun things which have explosions in them.
No, there's plenty of that.
So, yeah, but it has been a lot of fun watching Serathus along with the rest of the entire anime community.
Is this something that it's not just Serathus? Like,
this is universal.
It's like, is the YouTube contingent mad as well?
Yeah, I haven't watched any.
Or are they shilling for it because they seem to like terrible things a lot of the time?
I haven't watched any of the YouTube anime dude's videos about it. I think I might have watched a comedy skit about it, but that was about it because he's the only anime dude on YouTube I follow anymore.
I haven't actively gone out searching, but I've yet to see anyone come out in favor of the One Punch Man season 2.
Well, the core of my judgment on the matter has been that people were super hyped for the first season, but nobody seems to care about the second season.
Yeah, that seems to be the case, and people are popping mad if the thumbnails and the excerpts that Giga made jokes about in his very brief comments on it have anything to say about the general opinion of the anime community on it, which they would have to, or they wouldn't have impact.
Has Giga done a video on it yet?
He mentioned it as a side note in one of his videos. He doesn't seem to be enraptured by it either.
Yeah.
He's been making waifu tier list jokes about how the anime community turned in the black hole into a planet-eating anime girl.
I mean,
makes her garbage tier.
Yes.
Or whatever in a parody tier list when they were doing those.
Rule 53 is a thing.
53.
Damn it, I'm getting it mixed.
I've
been reading too much Worm. Bored.
But yeah. Oh, Case 53. Okay,
Case 53s and Rule 34. There you go.
Worms.
Yeah.
Although, so yeah, we can. But yeah, it's been hilarious because it looks from all the thumbnails and from the little bit of commentary I've heard, mostly in the form of jokes and Serathus freaking out, that everybody hates the new season.
Yeah. No, it's just a universal hatred for it.
Yeah, I have no idea where it originates from or how genuine it is, although it looks like a step down from the brief clips I've seen of other people in basically Gigax videos while talking about it, and a few other floating clips in other videos. But yeah, it's funny. It's funny to me because I didn't get attached to the series, so I get to look in from the outside. Let's see. And Young Justice, I never got around to watching it because it gave me a few yellow warning lights as soon as I saw it coming out. And just kind of stayed away from it and let that one do its thing. People said it was good, but it was comic book fans saying it was good, and half of those are comics lost their gate. Gamers came out neutral and anime is winning, but comics lost. So there's a 50-50 chance that whatever a comic book fan says, it's going to translate into, I love this comic because I'm a raging SJW.
Well, the thing is that they aren't comic book fans. They're just representing themselves as comic book fans in order to, push forward this agenda on the industry, to keep the industry convinced that they're doing something important, so that the almighty dollar doesn't tempt them.
Yeah, the central figures in Comicsgate were not as publicly stupid as the ones as Monica, Ron, etc. in Anime Gate, nor did they have the sheer massive amount of people behind them that were in Gamergate. So Comicsgate just got rolled over, basically.
Yeah. The people involved have done a very consistent. They haven't dropped the act just because they were winning. They kept it up, basically. So they're in a situation where they rather than tipping their hand as soon as they started to win and then starting to sneer, they've basically just replaced large chunks of the actual fan base with their. I mean, it seems like every week I read another story about another woke comic series being cancelled after like 3 issues or something.
Oh yeah, Marvel. The two big publishers are in huge trouble. Marvel and DC both.
But they keep churning out new ones, constantly churning out new ones.
What I don't get about Comicsgate in particular is, while Comicsgate was going on and when it first started, DC was having a really good run taking the side of the fans. And like they rebooted from their terrible reboot, and they were on a fairly consistent just tell good stories train for a while. And then they got woke along with Marvel, and their sales immediately plummeted. They were making record sales as long as they were not pandering to the SJW garbage in their main stories. And the second they started doing it, they joined Marvel, going straight down the tube.
Yeah, I think that what we've seen in other situations is that it seems to be possible in a lot of these businesses that you only need to get usually about 2 people in key positions before you're able to start leveraging these through, and they can be very apparently minor positions as well. One thing that I've noticed is that as a company goes woke, it's usually parallels an increasing amount of influence from their community management team.
Yeah.
And I think that that's because they are being fed information from the community management team on what the quote community unquote wants to see and how the quote community unquote is reacting to the changes that they make.
Yeah.
So it's basically like the company gets blindfolded and starts following instructions which are being dictated to them.
Yeah. And I think this is compounded by the fact that and catalyzed it to start in the first place because the people that are at the top of these businesses are probably even older farts than we are.
I don't want to become a standard for moderately old fart.
That's fine. I caught my parents unironically watching an antiques show, so as long as they are categorically older than I am, it's fine.
Oh, we're going to be talking about the dawn of 3D gaming and sound like dinosaurs when we're that old. But yeah.
Oh, yeah, we are.
Yeah, so these people don't have a clue how the internet works, how internet communities communicate, how to track trends, what's doing well and what's not. And they hired these community managers in the first place because they needed somebody to do it, not realizing they were hiring Californians who live in the California ideological bubble. And they do not, and what they think people want, or they demand that people see, is not what their consumers want.
As an example of this, segueing into a newslet that I
It is
saw
time we get onto the
this
news
week.
anyway.
The Total War 3 Kingdoms player modding community have generated a lot of cheesecake mods for the generals.
This
for
is-
female
this is-
generals.
Because internet. Yes.
Because
This is the best way to handle it wasn't historically accurate to have females in this particular role in history. And you put ugly ones in there, so we'll just make them sexy.
So now we've got a whole bunch of cheesecake models in there, and basically Creative Assembly, who released the game, they're not very happy about it. So they've basically collaborated with Steam to get these things turfed out, claiming that it violates the user agreement somehow. But apparently this seems to be a thing that has been spearheaded by their community manager, Grace Carroll.
Look at that.
Yeah.
So and she made the commentary on the Our Total War subreddit, saying that if you guys can't understand how weird and uncomfortable it is as a female community manager to see every main female character in our game reduced to standing around in her underwear, then I'm not sure what to tell you. The thing is that this comment encapsulates the problem with woke gaming in a nutshell. In that, number one, she's a community manager. She has nothing to do with the making of the game. Nothing.
Mm-hmm.
It's not her game. She can't use a plural possessive. She can't say it's our game because she wasn't involved. All she does is sit on social media marketing things.
Not anymore. She doesn't. She can be quoted. I read this story earlier, but didn't post it because I wasn't sure what to say about it at first. But it's she goes and says, "That's it. I'm staying off this subreddit for a bit." And I think in that same post where she says,
"Yeah, it is."
The thing with the underwear.
I just skipped that line because I don't think it is really relevant. Because it's not for what I'm saying. But the point is, number one, she is deciding that the game belongs to her, and number two, she's deciding that since the game belongs to her personally, her feelings are the only thing that matter. That her feelings are the only thing about this game that matters. So it doesn't matter how much effort these people went to put into making these mods. Nevertheless, because her feels are offended, she can pass this offense up the chain and just project that onto as many people as she likes, because she's a community manager. All she has to do is tell her woke bosses, who are made increasingly woke by the information that she feeds them, that, oh man, there are lots of people who feel really uncomfortable seeing this, when, it's just her basically. The entire subreddit, I'm sure, is people gushing about how hot the new models look, because that's how people behave on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's how boys and girls both behave in real life, by the way, if they're not super woke. Like, people like to look pretty. You don't see very many men playing the fat soy boy either.
Yes. And if you're logged into an MMO hub town at any point, everyone's standing around in their underwear.
I mean, from what I can tell, most of the women that object to attractive women in video games are women who feel unattractive because the women in video games are attractive. That seems to be the case.
Horrible death spiral.
Usually because they're fat and they have a weird hair color.
Well, the weird hair color is them rebelling against the fact they're unattractive by making themselves even less attractive.
Yeah.
But so this is just sort of an example of, you can jam that community management position in the gears of the machine so that you can feed whatever false information you want into the customer feedback loop. You don't need to worry anymore about what the consumers are doing. I mean, if the game starts to do poorly, all you have to do is blame misogynists, because that seems to work every other time, since you're consistently making the people above you more woke by feeding them horror stories. So, yeah, I think that there's a disproportionate amount of power concentrated in community management positions. And I know there are a lot of people who feel very sympathetic towards community managers, because it is true that they deal with the very worst elements of a game's fan base a lot of the time. However, deal with it. Basically, that's your job as a community manager, is to be able to filter things in a balanced manner. Your job is not to be an activist. It says nowhere in your job description does it say to be an activist, but this is one of those jobs, requires no skills, so it's really easy to insert some Californian with a useless degree in there, and all they have to do is say, "Oh, well, I'm a feminist," and etc., etc. And there's, "Oh, well, they seem personable because they're a feminist," because apparently that's how people in California think. I don't know that Creative Assembly is based in California, but California's archetypal in this sense. But yeah, the thing is that this particular company has got a reputation for doing this crap. This is not the first time. Last year, we had a similar situation. Total War Rome 2 had, for some reason, they had decided that more than half of the generals that are generated by the game would be women.
Oh, it's worse than California. They're in Britain.
Oh dear.
No.
But so Rome, Total War, which order is the words in? Total War Rome 2 basically generates a huge number of the military generals to lead armies will be generated as females, even if there were historically none. And it was the same set of community managers were involved in this. And they said basically that, oh, well, I mean, if you don't like it, don't play the game. Or you can mod them out. They gave people the option to mod them out back then. Modding wasn't verboten the way it apparently is now. So, some people actually did create a mod which inactivated the generation of female generals for those civilizations which had no female generals, and allowed a tiny percentage of female generals for those which did have some appearing in the historical record. But yeah, it was did not make them very popular, because it seems to be that it's becoming more and more of a fashion for people producing games to come out and say, "Oh, well, if you don't like it, then don't buy it." That worked real well for the Battlefield guys, didn't it?
Yeah, increasingly the game is just going to say, "Okay."
Yeah, and this is just people are going to run out of patience with this.
Mm-hmm.
All that you need is for the competing franchise to arise, competing with the Total War franchise, which are not woke and have modding support, and suddenly Total War ceases to exist. They think that they're immortal because their brand has been around for a long time, but if people want to put sexy mods in the game, then let them put sexy mods in the game. They're not like forcing you to use them. If you don't like it, don't download it. Huh.
I know the crazy socialists probably can't process this in their brains, but we live in a capitalist society, and right now the games market is saturated.
Yes.
You need to keep your product of high quality and exactly what your consumer base wants if you want to stay with that consumer base.
I would have thought that would be obvious, but I guess it's just not what it looks like from the West Coast bubble, and for some of the European studios. They seem to think that they can just get away with whatever they want.
They can't
Western
see
European
what's going on from the
studios.
top of their ivory towers.
Well, Eastern European studios seem to know what they're doing because they were all dominated by communists once upon a time. They know where that road goes.
Yeah, we got all these people that managed to dodge socialism/communism the first time. And they're like, oh, this sounds like a great idea. We don't like any of this capitalist rhetoric and capitalist business practices, so we're going to just ignore them. Why aren't we making any money?
Well, because you're a socialist, you're not allowed to make money. You're supposed to just give all your money to the state. They'll redistribute it to you if you deserve it.
That's the other funny part, is all these companies somehow think, these woke companies, and well, they're representatives anyway, seem to think they'll be the ones at the top that are controlling the flow of money and information when their little dream of wrecking capitalism happens. Got news for you, honey. No.
Yep.
But yeah, Creative Assembly must be very, very deeply woke by now regardless, because I can't think of another reason why you would employ a community manager who refuses to manage a community because they're offended by the sorts of things that get said on the internet. I'm sorry, there have to be lines of work you can go into which are more suitable than trying to be an internet community manager who gets offended by things on the internet.
Yeah, you're not an activist for a cause. You're not an agenda pusher at your company. That's not why they hired you. You're a
You're
representative.
a glorified advertiser. You
Yeah.
just advertise things. That's your job. That's all you do.
Your job is to communicate the company's will and intent to the customer base. That's it. And report back with what they say.
All right, let's move on, shall we? Let's
All right.
see. What do we have? Nintendo did a thing.
They did do a thing.
So they've announced, well, the Switch Mini, basically. Or the Switch Lite, I believe they're calling it.
Why not the light switch?
No,
that
boo.
that was the most missed opportunity. They should have done it.
Okay, that's what we shall forever now call it. Is the light switch?
I bet the internet's already on that. That's too easy.
Yeah, I saw it on the internet
Yeah.
days ago when it was first announced, like within 5 minutes.
Oh, well. The dad jokes are inevitable, so you may as well embrace the dad joke. So, it's a Switch. It's a little bit smaller and has the Joy-Cons permanently attached. It does not have capacity for the TV dock, and it has an improved battery life.
Do we have any clue if it's taken a hit in its CPU, GPU, or anything inside of it?
Unknown
If it
at
took
this
a
point.
hit, there would be nothing left. It is less powerful than most mobile phones as it is.
Yeah.
That's what I'm worried about.
They can't take a hit because I don't think a chip slower than the one already in there exists.
No, I don't think it does. So, yeah, it's basically that. It's also going to be $100 cheaper. I believe that is in the American markets.
Yes. So that would put it. Is it $100 cheaper than the initial launch price of the Switch or the current market price?
That's unclear.
Okay. If
Well,
it's $100 cheaper, it'll be
Store then. Let's see.
it'll be $300.
Yeah. Presumably it is $100 cheaper than its launch price.
Nintendo Switches.
then
Nintendo
nobody would
Switch
buy it.
Neon console, $468 New Zealand dollars. Nintendo Switch Lite Grey, $359.
Okay.
Okay,
So that's
that confirms that. then.
359 times 0.66. $236 is about what it'll come out to in the US.
Okay. Which is not. That's not bad.
So yeah.
Yeah, the Switch had pretty much already killed off the 3DS at this point anyway, so this is more or less just the last hurrah. It's done.
Yeah. Oh, it's
Are they
kinda-
going to have the good sense to stick that crap on the I guess there's no two screens anymore. That's the problem when you do a generation with two screens, is that you sort of lock yourself into that. You
I
can't
think
then
that's
do
part of
backwards
the,
compatibility
yeah. I think that's part of the reason why they stuck with the 2DS, 3DS.
for so
Model
long
for
because
so
they knew
long.
they could never go back.
Once that system
might
is
have been-
done, that's it.
They might have been thinking about trying some kind of wonky backward shenanigans with the Wii U, but I don't think so. But
I
for
presume
once-
that this is just like them doing the Wii U again, except trying not to screw up this time.
Yeah. You could do two screens with the Switch, I suppose, if you turn it vertically, but I don't know if that's like a recommended no-no or something.
Yeah,
I would
but
assume
you
not,
also
since it's-
you also have the whole touchscreen thingy, which the Switch, it has the functionality, but it doesn't really lend itself to it.
Yeah, I mean, you could still do it. I mean, I wouldn't trust myself to play like Dawn of Sorrow or something where you got to draw intricate symbols to seal
Oh,
the
no.
bosses, but
Definitely not.
I mean, but it's workable for most other games.
Yeah,
But you can't play FG on it, so I'm not interested.
not yet.
Oh, just you wait. As soon as Arc 2 ends, FGO Switch version announced.
Arcade
I
version.
will go.
launched
I
on
will go
Switch. Done.
and buy one that same day. Just sell it to me. Take my money. You would not believe how difficult it is to give people your money for stuff that you want. Like, good grief.
Especially out of country, and especially out of country if you don't live in the US.
Ooh, yeah. Oh, dear. So, along with that, there's also talk of hardware changes to the main line Switch as well, which involves...
To produce one with any firepower whatsoever.
I guess. It involves
It needs-
removing
yeah.
and replacing the Tegra chip.
Well, the Tegra chip is garbage, so
Yeah.
there's got to be an improvement.
They've got to speed up that thing's processing power by a good 30% at least.
Yeah.
30% output.
It's most likely really strangling development because of the extent to which everything's having to be downscaled to be processed by that thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
It's just so gutless.
Yeah. So
there are two games I know of that have worked fine. One was Axiom Verge that had no graphics to it at all to render. It was fine between the Switch and its other versions, and the other is Hollow Knight because, of course, I gotta give Team Cherry a hand job every time I can.
Charming. So yeah, they're replacing the Tegra chip with a new chip. Unclear what that is at the moment, as well as upgrading the memory.
Snapdragon 800 series, come on!
A few tweaks to the motherboard, and yeah, other general improvements. The whole idea is supposed to be to fix up the various hangs that the system does, which it does, and it does it with just about every game. There's some points where things get busy and the whole system just stutters.
You remember those frame rate problems I was talking about in the 3D rendered areas of Bloodstained?
Yep.
Back when I was talking about that? Yeah, on the Switch version, it like you have to specifically not use some spells that add too many particles or moving parts on the screen.
Oh, fun.
Otherwise, the game crashes.
Are we talking like trying to use Emiya's Noble Phantasm, or are we talking about trying to switch in another servant sort of hangs?
Noble Phantasm.
Like
most games.
So the game continues to function?
No. Like if you use any kind of projectile soul or shard that puts more than one projectile with a fixed arc on it on screen, it'll crash.
Yeah.
Or at least that's how it used to be on the Switch. Anything more than that is too much for the Switch to render in that particular area of the game. Because the Switch ain't powerful enough.
Yes.
Granted, it's a poorly optimized area to begin with, and that's on the devs of Bloodstained, but
still.
it should still at least work.
Yeah, I mean,
the
lesson here, though, that nobody else seems to have taken is that it didn't need to be very powerful in order to be a roaring success.
No,
whereas
it really didn't.
You've got Sony and Microsoft are both just furiously pushing that performance thing. Like I'm expecting we're going to see another like $700 release price tag on the next generation or something stupid like that.
I wouldn't be a scrap surprised.
Unless they got knocked it out of the park exclusive, there's no reason to buy them because we've already kind of hit the plateau.
Well, but like you said, we're at saturation. How far out of the park do you need to knock it for that to matter anymore?
Yeah. Like, you'd have to get a well-known franchise that's highly anticipating this next release, or a developer that has a good rep with its customers, which are far and few between nowadays, to announce a big project for it. Like, you gotta nail this to get people to upgrade from the PS4, I think, because there just ain't that much you can do to step things up.
Mm-hmm.
You could make a Fate Fighter, then I would buy the next one.
Well, you could pander to any specific individual's pet franchises. You could make DMC 6, and I would probably buy it.
Yeah.
But it's just there ain't a whole lot of room to go with power anymore. We already have pretty games. The people that play video games because they're video games instead of watching a movie, which already has the highest graphical fidelity you can possibly imagine, and that it has real freaking people in it.
Usually.
People are uncanny. I think I prefer anime girls.
Yeah. Like, you just don't need it to look any prettier. You need it to play better. You need to catch your software up to your hardware.
Mm-hmm.
And
everybody's talking about load times, though.
Yeah, that is a thing.
That is probably the area you'd have to focus your improvements on.
Well, everybody's bragging about what their new SSD technology is going to do. Like, everybody knows that that's the big bugbear. Like, they did not speed up loading times, but they increased the amount of data that needed to be loaded by half an order of magnitude across the generation gap. So now we have Monster Hunter. Like, I can't even envisage what it would be like a Monster Hunter that just loaded the hunt zone instantaneously. Like, what would that be like? I'd still be playing like right now.
Yeah, that was the biggest breaker for me. But it just goes to show you that they have invested too much time in the making the graphics prettier and adding more pores on the skin of all the human characters and more drops of sweat and water and making it prettier, when all that does is increase load time, and they did not put enough people into optimization.
That's like plumage, right? They're basically butting heads with the opposition.
Mhm.
They're showing off. They're not indulging in, actually winning over customers. They're just trying to butt heads against their opponents because they think that's all they need to do. And then, like happens every couple of generations, Nintendo comes in underneath and steals their lunch because they actually are trying to appeal to the customer,
Yes.
not just appeal to being slightly more powerful than the next guy.
Yes, instead of our games are big and shiny and oh my god, look how detailed they are. It's here. These games are fun.
And
I like big and shiny. Like
there is a place for big and shiny.
The new Glavenus looks awesome.
Yeah, it does.
Capcom's new Resident engine looks amazing. Every game they put out on it, all three of their big titles on it have looked beautiful and have run really, really well, and are very good about how they can space out load times and how much data can be loaded in one loading screen, so you don't have to sit through the long loading screens very frequently.
So
there's stuff you can do, but
the thing is that what I'm saying is that that's not valueless, but it can't be the only thing you value.
Yeah,
that's how you end up with David Cage games, really.
Which seem to be the most frequently free game on PS Plus. David Cage games.
I think I've got maybe 3 different versions of Heavy Rain from it.
I didn't sign up to PS Plus until Heavy Rain was all gone already, but I'm pretty sure I've got Detroit and 2 Souls.
Oh, you just got Heavy Rain as part of Detroit, by the way.
Did I?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so disappointed by that now.
Don't play Heavy Rain. It gives you hand cramps.
It's no good anyway. The ending's been spoiled up, down, and sideways. So
I don't know anything about it at all. I have no idea what it's even about.
I would still say no. It's not really worth it.
It's about Jason.
I know the meme. I know the meme.
The bad dad simulator.
I guess it's just like he's a movie director who was never able to come up with a screenplay that he could get made.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He did Indigo Prophecy, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that was the only game of his that I've actually liked, and I played that when I was much younger, so I may not like it if I replayed it now.
It was also the only game he made that was like somewhat a game.
Yeah.
Yes.
It was quick time events every 5 seconds. The game.
All right. So we hit on a quick tangent point there, which we shall return to now. Monster Hunter World. Capcom did a thing.
Yes, they did their first developer diary sit-down session.
Yes.
Which has been dubbed in English for the convenience of everybody. Which is something I appreciate because I don't speak Moonspeak. Which is what the language in which I typically watch the equivalent sit-down sessions for FGO.
Yes.
Completely failing to understand what's going on.
They're getting very excited about, I have no idea because I can't understand the language.
Yeah, well, at any rate, so they're previewing, and basically to be fair, the bulk of this developer diary seems to be previewing just how comfy they tried to make the city, the gathering hub.
It looks very, very comfy.
It does. I'll grant them that.
It's a kind of a resort town, and unlike the old hub, it actually looks like somewhere people would actually go.
Yeah, it's pretty nice, and the upgrades to what you can do with your characters' quarters, including letting other people in. Mm-hmm. Looks like they've changed things pretty significantly and expanded that. I don't know. Watching this, I felt like I was watching a developer diary session for Final Fantasy XIV.
Yeah. So
it seemed like they're going that sort of similar route of putting a heavy emphasis on player ownership of areas.
Yep. So I was actually kind of hoping they'd announce a collector's edition, because if there was any time it was going to be announced, this probably would have been it.
Maybe they'll hold off for a while.
No,
I don't know. The thing is that they're already letting people order they're already taking pre-orders on digital. So
yeah,
I don't know.
So I don't know.
Maybe
there's going to be
maybe they like, to be fair, it takes a lot of upfront infrastructure to set up a collector's edition for manufacturing distribution.
Mm-hmm.
If they don't want to do that and instead just want to dump all that money into development up front, I'm not going to begrudge them that.
Oh yeah, I'm perfectly fine if they do that route.
Because it sounds like they're putting an awful lot of stuff in this game.
Oh, I'm loving it. So they've introduced to us a couple more monsters. We have a big black doggo. We have a
Ebony Odogaron, the variant on classic Odogaron.
Yes.
A variant which is basically Odogaron, except he's on Hyperjuice all the time and he has Dragon Element.
Dragon Element, and yeah, that's all we really need.
Yeah, like Odogo was already a lunatic. Now he's a lunatic on speed, and he can disable the elements on your weapons.
Yes, so have fun with that. We've also got the Arctic Anjanath. I believe.
Yes.
It's big,
Fulgur
it's blue,
Anjanath.
and now... Yes, thank you. Yes, it's big,
Focus
it's blue,
less on
and it has...
breathing fire on you and more on supercharging itself.
Yeah. I would not be surprised if it also inflicts paralysis.
I bet it inflicts paralysis.
Because it looks like it's kind of a jerk like that.
It's going to be all Thunderblight and paralysis all day long.
Yep.
Like, I don't even want to think about that. But
Anjanath
is already one of my bugbear monsters that even though he's like apex for the first zone in the game and should be a pushover, he can still body me quite regularly.
Yep. And they've gone and they've made it angrier.
Yes. And full of electricity and tiger stripes.
Yes.
So apparently, though, there's going to be more strategy involved in taking him down. It sounds like you're going to be able to knock his charge out of him in order to fight him a bit safer.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's not really clear the precise details yet.
Yeah, maybe just whack him in the right place enough times and it'll stop him.
He seems to have his sails up a lot more often as well.
He does. So yeah, maybe he's taking the Lagiacrus route where you knock his back ornament off and he'll lose control of his charge. What else? A little bit more information about the Palico gadgets and what their new versions are going to do. It's not so much that you get a new gadget, it's more you get new levels and therefore new functionality to your old ones.
The healing one.
Yep.
The healing one looks way more credible now. Way more credible. The ability to save you from a cart.
Yes.
That's progression pushing. That's vital for progression pushing.
Yeah, especially if you're doing something that you're really just not quite ready for. So being able to get back up once after being knocked down, there's no word on how often you can do that either. So if
it's probably going to ridiculously long cooldown.
Oh, it would have
you
to.
Can use it more than once at all.
Yeah. The bomb one lets you fire fireworks all over the place because reasons, I guess.
Well, because those angry little midgets that normally shoot the fireworks probably don't live in the snow.
No, they probably don't. What else? There's no word on what the Looterang is going to do at this point, though.
I think that what it does already makes people happy, especially early on in an expansion.
Yeah. Like, it does one thing and it does it well.
It makes me money, is what it does.
Yep.
Cha-ching!
The Shield Spire gets more functionality, but nobody uses the Shield Spire, so it doesn't matter.
What is it? I don't even know what it does. I've never equipped it before.
You can use it to turn your Palico into a tank. So it will try and draw the monster away from you with not much success.
But even the Challenger Mantle can't do that.
Yeah. It's about as effective as the Challenger Mantle. Which is
to say not at all.
Yeah. So apparently it gives them a big taunt of some description. I'm not sure how that's going to work. So yeah. What else was there? Oh yes, the balancing.
Yes, the balancing for multiplayer has been adjusted. There's now a third mode rather than multiplayer and single player. There's now multiplayer, duo, and single player, which will mean that duo is a bit more balanced and not the strictly least optimal way in the game to play.
Yes.
Yeah.
We've gone against monsters which we've had no problem with in the past solo, and with 3 players it's not too much of a problem, but doing it as duos, we get bodied.
Yeah. They're just much harder with 2 people, generally speaking.
Yeah. So I'm very happy to see that, and have the difficulty be more dynamic. So if someone leaves the group and you get dropped down to a rank, the difficulty will adjust.
Yeah, you don't get stuck fighting like something incredibly nasty just because somebody decided they weren't going to help you anymore.
We 2-manned that Kuve Teroth, though, although I'm 90% sure it was mostly luck.
Oh, yeah, it would have been luck.
Because I could just sit there and mash the Demon Dance button.
Nothing can be destroyed that level of
Maybe you
pomposity.
Maybe you were. I was running around like a lunatic trying to stay out of the lava and the fire and everything else.
As long as he was paying attention to you, I could dance on his head. Or
This-
wherever we
this-
need to break stuff.
Corvée Teroth also has a lot of body for you to dance down.
Yeah. I mean, that's Dual Blade. It's what you do.
But
Yeah.
given Corvée Teroth's scale, you can do it for days.
Oh, yeah. You go zooming around all over the place with that spin attack.
Yeah, we just had the perfect opportunity where he just kept playing with Vol, and I managed to do a ton of damage to him in the meantime. It took us like 10 attempts, but we got a lucky one on the last one and beat him before the timer was up. So you can 2-man everything, theoretically.
Yeah.
It's just not likely.
Not
It's
really
one of the things I
ideal.
really like about the game is every now and again the monster will just decide it just doesn't want to play. So no 2 fights against a monster are exactly the same.
I don't really want to see a monster that's much angrier than that Tigrex.
Yeah, Tigrex is probably the pinnacle of angry.
But there's additional footage of Glavenus, who looks incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Incredibly violent, but incredible.
Oh yeah, he's very, very violent. And we got the teaser for Brachydios, who sneezes on people. I'm not kidding
Basically
either.
a kangaroo with a cold.
Yeah. He throws slime all over the place. The slime, if it sticks to you, will explode after a time period. If it's on the ground,
It was
it will
basically
explode.
the prototype for the blast element, wasn't it?
Basically, yeah. Slime used to have a lot of overlap with Blast. So I'm not sure if they're going to rework it or they're just going to call it Blast and put a different hat on it.
I don't think you need to do more than that. That makes sense to me.
Yeah, it's just Blast.
It's a blast attack. It's a blast attack. It's just it so happens that he uses a green graphic to do it.
Yeah.
And every time you get green on you get blast blight. Which is all the time.
Which is all the time. Because he's not shy about spraying that snot all over the place.
But how does he type with boxing gloves on?
That's an excellent question. He's kind of got these weird pile driver hands.
No, they're boxing gloves. You can see he's got actual fingers inside them.
Oh, yeah, he does too. Yeah, they are boxing gloves. So, yeah. We're getting some of the old favourites back. And by old favourites, I mean the ones that people run around screaming about.
I'm still waiting for Mizutsune.
I'd love to see the old bubble lizard in.
I just think that aesthetically, Mizutsune would fit in perfectly in the Coral Highlands.
She would.
There's just not enough water there, that's the thing.
Yeah, in the environment she has appeared in, she tends to have a bit of water around the place. She doesn't
That'd be a
need
fun
it.
mini pet.
But yeah. Everyone loves
And there's
bubbles.
currently there are no insectoid bosses, are there?
No,
in
not
World?
in the game.
And announced for Iceborne, there aren't any.
There's
So it'd be nice to see the angry lightning bug that's part of the Fated 4 as well.
Yeah, it's kind of a bug dragon thingy. There's very few
There's
insectoid
different-
bosses as it is.
They
There's the
could
Gundam one.
There is the Gundam one.
And I thought that they were gonna jam like one of those crab type ones in every game, or one of the spider type ones in every game, since they seem to be basically low tier vermin most of the time.
Yeah, well, there's only really one spider. But
But there's lots of variants of it,
there's a good amount
depending
of
on what
variants
skin
of it,
it's
yeah.
wearing.
No seller.
I'll tell you what they need to do. They need to make like the king scout fly as a monster you can hunt.
He'd never catch
You
it, and then it would spin you around for no reason.
You have to rely on your scout flies for them to highlight him, and so you can hit him.
He would be inexplicably armed with sword blades.
Yes.
Well, no cost too great.
Oh dear. So yeah, there's some good stuff coming down the pipe. They're going to be doing more of these developer diaries as time goes on, and I'm really actually starting to get a bit hype. It's been a while since I've
I'm
been
pretty
hyped
hyped.
about a game.
I'm pretty hyped. I'm not super hyped, but I'm pretty hyped.
Yeah.
I guess I've not been a Monster Hunter fan in the past, so my expectations are very low.
Mm-hmm.
Because what every Monster Hunter fan says, oh man, Monster Hunter expansions are huge. There will be like 20 new monsters, etc., etc. But my point of view is not that of a Monster Hunter fan. It's that of a person who has seen that. Yeah, when you release expansion DLC, you get like 5% of the game.
Yeah.
So I can't build much hype because I would just feel like I was setting myself up to be betrayed.
Yeah. Hopefully Capcom's not going to take a sudden right turn and just do a mini expansion, but because they've said that this is going to be the only expansion for the game. So unless they're going to do an ultimate version later on, which is well within their history of doing, yeah,
They could.
we'll see.
We could also see like the next edition after World follows and evolves on World's formula, and we get like a proper UI and load times that are not 500 years long.
It wouldn't be Monster Hunter without the load times.
If they kill those load times, I will play that game nonstop.
Mm-hmm.
I will dedicate at least probably 5 months of my life to playing that game as my main game. If that happens.
I wonder if they would actually have to rebalance drop rates without the load times, though.
Yeah, it would speed things up by probably a good 25%.
Yeah, they can be that bad.
But at least you can't get knocked into another zone by a monster.
That was the single most infuriating thing ever. You'd step into a brand new zone and you'd just get tail swiped and just go flying back across the zone border. Which somehow means you've travelled down 500 meters of pathway in the process.
It was a really heavy tail swipe.
Very heavy tail swipe.
Better than it being razor sharp and on fire, like it would be if it was Glavenus.
Yeah, what he do.
Oh dear, oh dear.
He is a very angry boy. All right, anything else?
For the record, I don't have to run away anymore. The person I was doing stuff with at work abandoned me, apparently. So I don't have to go run back and help them.
I thought I might get my hopes up there and wonder if he decided he was actually going to do his job.
No.
I know.
I got the thing. I got the thing where we could get it started and sent out to other people. It's just the rest of it needs doing, and that can wait till tomorrow.
Yay!
So,
all right.
There was another article, I think, but I can't not find it because Discord's being a butt.
Tis being a butt.
Vol linked it, I think. Or no, you linked it, Fern. What was the other thing you had?
It was about GameStop, wasn't it?
About GameStop. GameStop wanting to become a hub for gamers.
Why? Gamers don't have any reason to go to GameStop unless they're really into Funko Pops.
They got no trust of them.
No. Unless, no.
There's the Funko Pop retail outlet, aren't they?
Yeah.
As far as I can tell.
Even my GameStop, which I've praised as being one of the better ones, doesn't have people go to it anymore unless it's sale time.
Mm-hmm.
Why would you? Their base prices are so high, unless you're there to get Funko Pops, in which case there's basically no other place you can go.
Yeah, people have caught on to my local GameStop specifically having the best bargain bin in the world. So the bargain bin is routinely empty.
So
we have to wait for sale time.
Unfortunately, brick and mortar game shops aren't all that relevant anymore. It's kind of sad, actually, because the small places which are run by people who are, genuinely passionate about the topic are really nice. They're really good to go to. Yeah,
but it's like bookstores, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, you don't see nearly as many as you used to. There's not really room for them. I suppose what they're trying to do here is they're trying to do the thing like the big bookstores, the really big bookstores do, where they've got a cafe and people sit there and they spend money on the coffee while they read the books.
Equivalent of it.
Yeah, that's what That's what I presume is their end goal.
But it would be full of Funko Pops. There wouldn't be anywhere to put the
Yes,
coffee
it would
machine.
be full of Funko Pops.
The bookstore in my local area has a Starbucks as its cafe inside.
Because of course it does.
Ugh.
So
Oh
if you
yeah,
want
was
coffee,
it you
there's
that
one
has
else.
this particular loathing for Starbucks?
Yes, I don't like anything they have to offer on their menu.
It's not
I wouldn't
particularly
know.
pleasant.
Like Starbucks was not a thing that I could afford for many years, and now that I can afford it, I don't have any reason to go there.
I went to Starbucks once. And only once.
I went once because somebody wanted to go and was shouting, so
Free imitation coffee.
That is the few times I have tried Starbucks coffee. Is people were like, "I want to go to Starbucks." I'm like, "I don't want to go to Starbucks," and we went to Starbucks.
that was literally a decade ago though, so I have no idea what it tasted like.
So yeah,
Oh, dear.
like, okay, you've got the smaller game shops, like they'll do your D&D nights and your Friday Night Magic and things like that. And they work for a smaller shop, but a big chain corporation, which is proven to be just as soulless and uncaring as GameStop has, won't work.
Hobby shops are few and far between outside of major cities anyway.
Yeah.
Like, if you live anywhere, there's one within, an hour of you if you're lucky.
My closest one is 8 hours away.
Yeah.
My closest one, I could probably walk there in an hour.
Yeah.
Mine
There's
is
just
3
the one
cities
that I
down the
know
road.
of. I've heard that there's another one in the CBD, but there's one nearby. But it's always full of scary looking people, so I don't think I want to go in there.
Scary looking people who may or may not have showered.
Yeah, that type of scary.
Yeah, okay.
There's a whole lot of things I could say about the people at hobby shops.
You have in the
But,
past.
I could make it even worse after a few recent experiences.
Please don't.
But yeah. The thing is, hobby shops can barely keep themselves alive. Like,
Yeah.
hobby shops keep themselves alive because of old fags like us.
They're very niche, and they
Like-
limited their customer base is limited because of that.
Yeah, people that grew up in the environment where the hobby shop was a necessity don't exist anymore. They're not coming up. That customer base has hit a terminal point. There will be no new ones. They all gather online and play.
Mhm.
And so I don't know what GameStop is thinking it's going to do, being a brick and mortar version of a hobby shop for video games that is not at all going to draw customers when the video games are even more online community centric than hobby shops. At least hobby shops hobbies require you to be physically at a table with the materials to play.
Well, that's the thing about this that signals desperation, right? Because this is the sort of thing that you do if you, let's say, and I know that we don't know what it is because it hasn't happened yet, but let's say there was some revolutionary new game that required, personal presence in brick and mortar. Just something that just took the world by storm. Everybody wants to play this game, like say a board game or something like that. Then this is what you do as a reactive move to draw that clientele. You don't do this in a vacuum, because what are they going to do when they gather at your community hub? What are they going to do there?
Look at the Funko Pops.
Presumably.
Yeah, presumably. Like they want people to buy those Funko Pops, presumably. So how are they going to sucker people into doing that? What is going to be the temptation? In the case of the classic hobby shop, let's say, you're one which does Friday Night Magic or has a club for playing Warhammer or something like that. While people are there, they have the opportunity to purchase things that will instantaneously change their game experience, in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like what they will be able to do henceforth will be different from what they did today. So they have the opportunity to react to their experiences by spending money at your store. So that makes sense. You want those people around. In GameStop, that doesn't happen. It doesn't happen except in a really, 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 really horrifying world where people gather together, play games, and then buy loot box cards from GameStop.
Yeah. No.
I just don't see any. I don't see any world in which this has any impact. Because I mean, there's nothing that can happen in a community gathering at a GameStop that would motivate you to buy a Funko Pop, which is apparently all they sell.
Like, okay, so here's an even better analogy. let's say you have your local vape store, and every single vape store is like this. You go in there, and it is mostly a video game store with vape equipment in the back for people to buy while they play video games together on the couches.
I don't know. I don't know if that would work because everybody's on tenterhooks. Everybody's afraid that that vaping is going to get banned any second. So
it's less about the actual thing. It's just those stores. They're not the only type of store like that has some kind of leisure hobby that you go into, and there's just a couch to play video games with your buds in there, and the store owners are perfectly 100% okay with it. This is very common in the US. Vapes are just the obvious one with their stores like that, and they're really well known for it around here. But there are other ones too. So I don't know what kind of market GameStop is trying to go for, and it already seems like that's not only covered, but
if they were going to open up a chain of bars, I could understand that. Because I mean, that would make sense, right?
Yeah, as much as anything else, I suppose.
Like, the gaming clientele has advanced significantly in age, so if people are going to be gathering to shoot the breeze and play some video, you might as well supply them with booze. So.
Yeah, there's places that have tried that. Like there's just a bunch of them down in Melbourne a few years ago, and now they're all gone.
Well, I don't know if they're gone because the business model is bad or because the people that open those are invariably moronic.
I bet you I could probably make that business work. Vol, write up a business document for that one and get your butt over here. We can start that one.
I'm not a business major.
It's okay. I took a few classes in it, and that's really all you need.
But that's what I'm saying. That's the mentality that the people who set up the ones in Melbourne went in with, and look how that went for them.
We'll be fine.
Yeah, and they thought that too. And I know I've got sort of a tangential connection to this because I have a cousin who was one of those people who opened like a gaming net cafe just when that concept was starting to take off, and it went out of business real quick.
Yeah.
And it wasn't for lack of people wanting to, because I visited once as a customer to see what it was like. And there were tons of people in there. It was doing a lot of business, had a lot of paying customers, but it's just not run by somebody who doesn't have a keen nose for business. It won't stay afloat very long, and it won't be able to grow.
I think that in part that sounds like bad fund management. Like they just didn't have a good accountant.
But the accountants don't manage funds. Accountants do your taxes. You, as a business owner, has to manage your funding.
Well,
your money flow in and out. Like
I suppose I'm using.
It's your responsibility as a business owner, and a lot of people don't seem to think that that's a thing. That there are lots of expenses. Like the scenario is that people have a good idea, and they think because they're passionate about it that can suffice instead of knowledge.
I misspoke a little bit in that I equated accountant to what I've been doing as an accountant the last few months in my business. But yeah, I realized
but a business like yours has a reason to hire an accountant proper.
Yeah.
Because you're handling large sums of money constantly. The average shop, which is what this sort of thing would be, doesn't need to hire an accountant. Bars don't have an accountant. They will hire an accountant to do their financials every quarter or whatever. They don't need an accountant on staff. But what they do need is to know how to do business. And, in the case of something like a bar, it's usually some old guy who's observed people a long time. But yeah, I think that a lot of these places, these gamer bars and similar type outfits, they go out of business. And there were tons of them around the city I live in now as well that they came and went because they just don't know how to turn a profit, how to grow a business. I'm not saying that I do, but I'm saying that there are important bits of knowledge you need to make a business idea work, regardless of how good that idea may be on its own. Very few ideas are good enough to go gangbusters with a total incompetent at the helm.
I was mostly joking, but on this topic, by the way. But the big key to that would be you would need to be able to talk to people and have people in other industries that you could network with to work to make the business grow.
Yeah, but those are all business skills. Those are all business skills.
But the problem with that, specifically with this GameStop thing or the GameStop bar idea, is you just do not have the other type of business people out there with any kind of tangentially related business that would be willing to network with you or cooperate with you to grow. You cannot sign any partnership deals with anybody for really anything if you go this route, because there isn't another market. Yeah, there is no market proven anything for this.
Yeah, and well, it's because people have set up this chain of failures over the course of the last 20 years or so, that every time anybody tries this idea, it's successful for a while, flash in the pan, disappears under. Like that's what that sector looks like. If you look at it in from the outside, you just see failure. I mean, like I actually spent a lot of time at one of the recent ones. Recent because it was a decade ago. One of the ones locally here. I used to go there. Like we would go to uni, we would do a study session until about 2:00 in the morning, and then we would go to this net place and we would play Battlefield or whatever there for a few hours, and then we'd go home and crash. So, and I went there frequently, and lots of other people went there frequently. They had many dozens of computers in there. Most of the time, more than half of them were occupied at 2 a.m. So, yeah, the what I'm saying is that there's no shortage of clientele. What there is a shortage of is people who can turn that customer base into a successful business. And all of this is beside the point, because none of that is really what GameStop is doing. GameStop just seems to think that the power of its brand is going to cause all this to happen.
Yeah.
Their completely toxified brand. Like GameStop is synonymous with either you get a bargain or you get ripped off.
Not to mention employee abuse and unrealistic expectations.
Like there's no part about GameStop that is okay. There is only the rare bargain, and everything else about this place is awful and crap.
And Funko Pops.
Yeah. But there are 1 out of 100 GameStops I know that have a neutral reputation. Every other one is absolutely loathed by their clientele.
Yeah.
And was the only people that would go to those stores were people that just really like to go get physical copies with their hands.
Yep. There's been a few times I've tried to pre-order stuff through the local EB Games. It's all the same chain, just different names for different countries. The physical versions that I order have almost always had something wrong with the order. Like if I ordered a collector's edition, then they didn't put it in as a collector's edition, so I miss out. Something like that.
So you're a GameStop owner. You set up your your 2 little couches in the corners of your store, and with little chairs around them and a big TV on the wall, and you move all the games to it, the smallest wall you got, and you put all the Funko Pops on the other big wall. And you are a nerdy, probably introverted dude who just bought a GameStop because he liked games and managed to make it kind of work. Okay, you now have to, not only as an owner of this business, find a way to attract a totally different type of clientele from the type you normally sold, because you no longer appeal to them, because a totally different type of person is going to go sit down at a brick and mortar store and play video games with their buddies on a couch than the type that's normally going to come in, get their game, and leave. So you've not only got to do that, but you've got to find a way to network with people and build this business with none using totally different skills and connections than the ones you had before, while trying to do this with an unproven business model.
So all of these are real problems. And I think that because they are real problems and transparently real problems, that they're not going to go this route. But what they are most likely to do, in my opinion, is go the disgustingly corporate route. So what will happen was GameStop will basically try and buy off some popular YouTuber to tour around these places and attract the kiddies in.
I don't think it'll work.
Some Twitch guy is going to, I don't know what these people are called, Ninja or whatever, is going to get paid by GameStop to make an appearance at one of these things for the fans or whatever, and try and get people into the store that way. Or pro gamers, if there's such a thing, because I'm not really sure that there really is anymore.
That actually sounds the more likely way to go. They'll bring in some obscure esports champion.
Well, that's the way to fail. You bring in the streamer if you can afford it, for starters, since they're all rich as some sort of sultan. But if you bring in some obscure esports player, I mean, I guess that they're hoping that esports player would inspire people to take up that game, and then I don't know. Then in that scenario, you're going to end up with you're still going to end up with the disgustingly corporate route, because what you're going to do then is that you'll say like, oh, we want an Overwatch or a Fortnite person to come in and do a thing with the fans or whatever, play with a bunch of random people, who knows. So the way we're going to do that is, in practice, we're going to do a deal with Epic or do a deal with Blizzard or whatever to get Blizzard to convince Overwatch Pro Gamer X to come in and sell a bunch of copies of Overwatch or whatever somehow by being there. Like every one of these ideas is bad, but because they're more grotesque and corporate, I think that they're more likely.
Mm-hmm.
I think the only thing they would have the money in the piggy bank to do would be to go to people like, I don't know, the Game Grumps or Maximilian Dude. You know, low mid-tiers, Let's Players, not even streamers.
I'm not really saying that they're going to try and bankroll it themselves. I'm saying they'll get Blizzard to bankroll it. They'll get Blizzard to bankroll getting some streamer or other who plays Blizzard games and shills for Blizzard, because so many of them are just shills, to be basically a marketing rep. So Blizzard gets marketing and they get a few sales maybe, and you know, the GameStop is expecting that they'll basically get a slice of those sales. The big fly in the ointment being that Blizzard has no reason to want to sell something through brick and mortar if they could get everything through digital. But that's the exact same problem that they have now. So
that's the part that wasn't clicking with me while you were going through this. It's like,
well, I'm not saying it's a good idea.
I know.
I'm not supporting it.
I'm still in my brain thinking we live in a sane world where Blizzard would say no to this on the spot because all their sales come from digital nowadays. But then
Blizzard
I remember, then I remember
they pushed the Overwatch League for so long. They continue to push it. They're dumping humongous quantities of money into that. It makes no returns ever.
Yeah, they're a bunch of prideful idiots, and I remembered this.
What's more, the thing about this is that this is sort of like, oh, we're looking forward to the future. Well, I mean, while I don't subscribe to this particular way of thinking, it is the fact that the people these days who are the top dogs in the industry are saying that streaming is going to replace everything. So I'm not really sure how you're going to survive as a GameStop in that environment.
Yeah.
Because nobody buys games anymore. They just subscribe. Not a cent goes to you. So they need to find something that they can sell in that brick and mortar store. And I don't know what their Funko Pop movement strategy is, because that's all they've got.
Yeah.
We have to twist our brains to come up with scenarios where this could work, just thinking of all the problems this has, because they're just so desperate. Yeah, it's very clear they don't even know how they're going to pull this off. They just are just going to run with it and try something because they're in trouble.
On a related tangent, does Prima even exist anymore?
Maybe?
The strategy guide people?
Let me have a look.
I'm Googling.
Because, well, you see, that's the thing though, right? If you want to know something, you will Google it.
Yeah, exactly. You just go to a wiki or
something.
Nope,
you don't. Yeah.
Wow, GameStop. They were bought out by an audiobook company and closed, and their staff assimilated.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's GameStop. That's GameStop 10 years from now. Bought out by an audiobook. Bought out by an audiobook. Well, I'm not saying that it will have happened after 10 years. I'm not saying it's going to take 10 years. Yeah. It could happen tomorrow and I'd still be right. But what I'm saying is, like, that's the future there. GameStop's going to be bought out by an audiobook company and the staff assimilated. Yeah. That's going to be it.
They need to take a massive
that's just the same phenomenon in miniature, right?
Yeah.
That's the exact same phenomenon in miniature.
Yep. Not that Prima strategy guys were particularly good in the first place. They were usually wrong by the time they were released.
I bought them for the maps.
Yeah.
Because I'm the sort of person who needs that.
Those maps.
Because you can't, way back when, you couldn't have the map open on the screen and be playing the game. I forget everything that's on a map if I have to close it.
And now you just Google it.
Yeah, now I can just put it up on one monitor while I play on the other one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Somebody somewhere has made a detailed map of the area.
Or at least stole it from Prima.
Well, usually they make it themselves nowadays because Prima doesn't exist.
Yeah.
I think I have the World of Warcraft one around somewhere.
I have the WoW Atlas somewhere around here.
I've got the Guild
The
Wars
one
one
put
as
out by
well.
Blizzard.
The Guild Wars one was really good, actually, because there's so many spells in Guild Wars.
It's
And
got
the-
a bit stupid, yeah.
The maps that were supplied in the Prima guide for Guild Wars were also better than the in-game ones, because they were the in-game map that you brought up by pressing M or whatever the button was a symbolic map,
Mm-hmm.
and the ones that in the strategy guide are basically expanded versions of the mini-map one, which reflected the actual terrain. So the book was actually really, really, really good. So
I think I had the Burning Crusade Prima guide around somewhere. The maps in that were
I have the
great.
WoW. I've got the Brady Games WoW Classic strategy guide here in front of me. I don't own this; it belongs to somebody else, but I forgot to return it before they left country.
Well, it's entirely wrong now.
Yeah, WoW Classic will come out, and some of it will be right again.
Maybe.
Oh my goodness! I'm on the Prima Games website, which is still up, and one of their first guides for their online segments in the guides is so old. It's from 2014. How to choose a class in World of Warcraft: Warlords of Draenor.
Wow, that's interesting.
That's a couple X packs ago.
That's that's a little bit out of date.
This Brady Games guide is the one which has the Penny Arcade comics in it.
Yes.
Hyrule Warriors is on here. Yeah, they've been dead forever. I thought their website might be still doing kind of bloggy stuff, but no. I clicked on strategy, and the latest one is like 2016 for Destiny, how to get one of the exotic weapons from the original game.
Destiny 1, not Destiny 2.
Yeah, Destiny 1. They have articles that are dated 2019, but I don't know if they just link me to another website or whatever because their URLs are weird.
Yeah, probably
Wow,
do
some
that.
of these sections of this strategy guide are interesting. There's a section on distributing treasure, a section just dealing with incompetent players, spam invitations, asking for help, requesting buffs from strangers.
I can sum that up
trains.
in one word. /ignore.
I can sum that up in
Ganking.
one word:
Corpse
keep walking.
camping. I
Good.
presume that they're saying how to avoid being corpse camped, not how to corpse.
If you're getting corpse camped, log off and come back later.
There's number
Or
10.
call your
Take
mates.
break. I don't want to take break. Nobody takes break.
Nobody
You don't
takes
buy a
breaks.
strategy guide if you're the sort of person who takes. You're a lunatic enthusiast, and you know everything in the strategy guide already.
Anyway, we
No.
should really probably wrap up. We're way late.
Yeah, we are.
Are we?
So, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I guess we'll start wrapping up. I don't know when y'all started, so I didn't have a timer going. Or I wasn't watching the clock.
We're about 15 minutes late. We're about an hour and 15 to finish up now. So,
Okay.
yeah. Time to wrap up.
All right. Email topic of the week is send us your funny GameStop potential business ideas on how they can salvage this and why this is a good idea. There you
Yep.
go.
That'll work.
Uh,
Unless you want to pick
All
up
right.
an earlier topic from the show, as in that list many more ways in which Final Fantasy XIV is better than WoW.
all right, folks. Closing comments go.
I'm going to go and shoot some things because bang, bang, gun, I guess.
Bang,
Pull your
bang,
devil
pull your devil
trigger.
trigger.
Not quite. This is bang, bang, I've got a robot now.
Did you even manage to finish that game?
No, I'm savouring it, I guess you could say. I'm also bad at it.
Wow, when the strategy guide was written, there were no raids in the game. It looks like.
Wow, that's old.
And so instead of strategies for the raids, there's an interview with a developer. Jeff Kaplan. There's an interview with Jeff Kaplan about what they're planning to do.
Wow. Is Diamol in there?
No,
No.
I
Wow.
don't think so.
That would be launch.
This is pre Onyxia and pre Molten Core.
Yes,
Yeah.
that was written as that was the launch edition of the strategy guide then when the game first came out.
It is the single
That's
most out-of-date document in existence.
There's a 2-page spread of all the different Tabid logos. Is that really necessary?
Yes.
Yes.
The more pages you can cram into that thing, the more expensive you can make it.
That's the idea.
What the specific quest reward in terms of EXP and money is listed for every quest.
Oh, wow. Imagine a
Good
Toby
grief, whoever
being
wrote
figured
this was a
out.
lunatic.
Anyway.
Very thorough. No cost too great. Shaw. We'll see you next week. Sayonara. Bye-bye.